righty. Let's see what we got here. Oops. All right. Okay. All right. I think we've got it now. I think we did. It seems to be better now. Gene Boussier, did we get it working, Chris? Yeah, it appears to be. I had to go through my app and see if I can run a test on it. We did. Third eye open. Thank you for coming back. Appreciate you. Too fast. TJM. I'm sorry. 972. Evening, Chris. What's happening? We had some more gremlins in the system as usual. Well, we went from literally 1.3 meg to like a 33, 35, just by doing a quick test and doing some troubleshooting here. You can do it remotely for Comcast, and it goes right to their, office technology, call it what you will. And it seems like it's somewhat rectified it. We'll see what happens. Fingers crossed, but you know how that works. Anyway, so the joys. Let me see here. Yeah, that took a little bit longer than I thought it would take, but I guess we got it working now. George Afonso, 400. What's going on? Good to see you there. Live long and prosper. Gee, boy, yeah, pretty much. Dropped down to 56K. It's like, eek. Don't laugh. It was about that. I think it was like 0.6. I'm like, oh, great. That's awesome. Like I said, I just did a test, and then you can go on the app and have Comcast do a test and, ping your equipment and test it. It says, oh, it's running great. Yeah, that's the download. So I, went through and just did more testing on it, and now it's up to like 35 upload. I'm like, well, that's a little better. So I don't know if they're having issues in the area, although they're not saying there's a complete outage, but it may be something else. So we're hoping that it'll stay consistent. If not, we'll just do it again. That's all. We'll do it another day. And of course, I'll keep you guys, abreast of that. We can just do it some other time. Wouldn't surprise me if they're like, yeah, it's him again. He's back on. Let's get him. Nothing would surprise me in this day and age. Crystal, good to see you back. Jiminy. That's always something. And I typically don't have these issues. That's the crazy part. Let me see here. I wonder if I can do this. This first. Oops. Okay. Okay, we should be good now. Like I said, do some troubleshooting, go through everything. I reset everything. And like I said, I went through Comcast with the app and reset it and have it ping it and everything else and make sure we get it working. Seems to be doing pretty well now. So finally made it on time. Robert, CC, what's happening? It's on time. Yep. Just on time. Actually, we were already aired, but like I said, the gremlins were on the line again, and upload speed was crapski. So we're a little troubleshooting and pinging the equipment and get everything working. It seems to be up to par right now. So it's not on my end. It's something that's on their end. And I don't know if it just went, oh, yeah, sorry about your upload. We'll just go ahead and adjust that for you. I don't know what the deal is. And here's the other thing, too. Mine is unlimited data, so that shouldn't be an issue either. So not sure what the hell the deal is, but it is electronics. It is computing. It's, there was something, and there's nothing against the women in here, but there was a guy, the Spanish dude, he used to tell me, hey, Chris, a car, but this time we use computers. A car is like a woman's man. You don't know if it's going to let you down. I'm like, damn, that's messed up. So he must have had some very bad relationships. But anyway, GMAC, what's happening? 0449. Good to see you in there. Mr. Metalhead, good to see you in there as well. Yeah, there you go, Robert. You said I'll be driving and delivering for the rest of the day, so I'll just be listening ears on. Well, that's good. Good to that you're having us along with you. That's awesome. Let me see. Richard Walton, good to see you in there. 5251, hello. Big wave to you. Yeah, that was a little freaky, but we're good. I expect that. It just happens. Not a big deal. I noticed earlier, usually it's about, I'm guessing around 6 to 7 seconds. Sometimes it's around 10 seconds lag. In other words, what I'm transmitting and what you guys are seeing is usually that difference in, not because of the speed or anything, it's just the way it works. From here to YouTube, they obviously they put it on, so on and so forth, and you get that little bit of a lag time. This is like 17 seconds. That's like, well, that might be about average now that I think about it, but I was like, that's bizarre, but all right. We're not complaining as long as it's working. Let me see. There was somebody who put on there about going back to what we were talking about yesterday, where they were talking about, I think we talked about Brucey's all and everything like that. And it was funny because he says he didn't realize that he had passed. And you can see it right here. Glenn Judd, I think he may or may not pop in here. I'm not sure. No idea Bruce passed. Haven't followed him for years. Apparently it was a heart attack. And I didn't know that was the case either. But when he said we didn't go to the moon, pretty much stopped watching his videos. This is a tragedy. And you know what? Forget about, so much, it is a tragedy, obviously. But I mean, as far as like people saying that we didn't go, what was the other guy's name? Oh God, what was his name? He used to talk about the lunar wave, like it was a holographic moon type thing. You guys might have seen him more than once. So yeah, I actually got it opened up there, Gene. That's the thing. I did all that, set up all the settings to get this thing maximum speed, including the computer. But again, it's like having a 454 engine and having 1.5 inch exhaust on it, single exhaust. Yeah, you're not going to go too far. I've got a gaming computer and everything else, and it's just like, it's only going to be as fast as the internet will allow me. So you know how that works. Alan Snyder, 8294. Not that we have to use the numbers, but you get what I'm saying. Great to hear you, from you. I appreciate it. Good to see you in there. Yeah, Metalhead, you're absolutely right. His telescope had some good picks, though. Yeah, and it absolutely did. Like I said, I always said, and I was always honest, I said, listen, I don't think anybody's research unless you can follow it yourself. In other words, like when I get like a photo from NASA, you guys get the link. Now, sometimes I'll have it on my backup hard drives because I got 2 of them on this computer right now, and I just shut them off. So obviously we can keep all the information we need, and nobody can get into it. And if you can't get the link and follow it yourself, because a lot of people use Photoshop as well, right? So what they do is they go, listen, I need the link. I need the original photo. I want to look into it myself. Absolutely. And I would rather have you guys have the link so you can do the research. How do you do that? Does everybody out there have a big telescope like Bruce did? No. So in that aspect, like I said, and we won't rehash all the stuff that happened in the past, but I had him on the podcast. It was a great time, and then everything went sour after that. I don't know what triggered it, but whatever the reason is, like I said, I'm not going to rehash it. Like I said, my chest got heavy when I seen that he had died. At the end of the day, he's a human being. He was a dad. And again, I think he was like 48, 49 years old. And that's just craziness to me. It's like I said, he was doing his own research. And when I watched some of his videos, I was like, wow, that is interesting as hell, because when you look there, you can see like these things flying around there. And I believe that's still the case. But it's like you're trying to wrap your head around the idea, okay, you're seeing these things on the moon. Why would you think we didn't go? So we 100% gone. And I'm going to show you some pictures that that we had gotten from, let me think here. Well, you can get them online too, but trying to think. Trying to remember if it was the other photo I had. Anyway, it was from Ken Johnston, and he had the original. Well, I don't think he had even the original. I think he had like maybe the second generation, and then the public was given the third generation, and it was so, oh my God, manipulated and sanitized. You couldn't find anything. But then when you get his photo from there, the archives online, because they uploaded every photo that he's ever had in this giant book that he has, and when you look at it, you're just going, why is there such a discrepancy between that particular photo, the one that's showing the public, and his with more detail, even though that one there was obscured a little bit and was sanitized, but it had better detail in it. And there's some things that they didn't hide or didn't completely get out. And that's the key to it. And that's what we want. And not to mention the communications between the Apollo missions and ham operators here on Earth. Do you remember they said something about, I don't know if there's like a 2-minute dropout, and what they were saying was they were on this medical channel or the alternate channel. Now, some people, and I forget who it was that, it'll come to mind in a minute, but tried to say that Ken was a complete fake. And I offered to have this debate between them, but he didn't want to do it. So what I did was I was like, okay, once I went into these photos and looked at it and stuff like that. And anyway, the whole point is that there was a discrepancy between the photos. Then we had like I said, and within the 2 minutes that they were on a different channel, literally they were like, the ham operators picked up on this. You and I couldn't hear it because they're channeling through the TV what they want you to hear. But these ham operators were talking about, and he was talking about how these things are huge. You're not going to believe it. And there's a conversation. I'm going to show you that conversation. And it's just wild when you see this. And they said, he goes, I think they're moving below us. Interesting. So, yeah, pretty wild. All right, let me see. Steve Garnham, good to see you there, man. Good to see you in there. It's been a while. Wild Mountain Bear, what's happening? Good to see you in there as well. Yay, great to see you on a live podcast again. Absolutely. Metalhead, you said, I started watching him shortly before he passed. He had an enormous amount of UFOs by his home. It was crazy. He filmed every night. Oh, yeah, he was out there like an insomniac, right? And Too Fast said, yeah, I remember the incident with Bruce. And when is it? Oh, all right, Surge, NYC. What's going on, man? Having my boy Chris is doing more videos. We are back. Oh, yeah, no doubt. But, yeah, I mean, it's just like some of the craziest stuff out there. And I'm trying to remember the other guy he was also filming the moon. You guys remember, what was his name? This goes back early. This is probably early 2000s, maybe 2010-ish. Oh, God, what was his name? He had like a bird in his like a, what do you call that? And his avatar, like on a computer. Anyway, he kept saying, oh, look at this. You can see the lunar wave. It's fake. It's holograph. What he didn't tell you is that he lived by an airport. So what you seen was a jet. It'd be like filmed. It wasn't like 5 minutes before you seen that or 5 minutes after. It was literally like, oh, it's 30 seconds. Watch this. And it wasn't even that. It was like 10 seconds. Let me show you this. So what you would get over across the screen is what they call jet wash. And you would see that. And there was another guy who was looking into what he was doing and said, yeah, it's 100%. It's a jet. Let me show you. And then he recorded because he lived right by it and he was a big fan of these, anything to do with avionics and stuff like that. So he literally did the same thing, looked at the moon. Here comes a jet. And there's the same thing coming down the moon or going up. It depends on the jet wash. If it was below the moon, it literally, you can see like the jet wash coming out and you would see it expanding up the moon. Same thing if it was above the moon, it would go downward. So, yeah. It's easy to debunk people when, they're basically, not being totally honest. Let's just put it that way. Serge NYC, you said, we are live. Wish everyone the best these crazy times. So much stuff out there is just starting to be shared in the media. Yeah, I mean, and I'm still on the back burner as far as like even believing for a moment that what the government is showing us as far as UFOs is even 100% authentic. Now, I'm not saying that they can't be real, but I mean, are they out of our solar system real? Or is it something somebody in the United States or somewhere in the world has made these? I don't care if it's Germany, China, Japan. I don't care who it is. When you see these things like the Tic Tac, you know, UFO or something along them lines, it's crazy because you go, why do we never get an actual photo? If they were literally on, let's say they were a Navy ship, a warship, and during the day and they got this thing crystal clear, I would not hesitate to believe. But you always see, like, again, infrared, night vision, blurriness, or it's a negative. It's always something ridiculous. It's never crystal clear. So I'm going, okay. So if you can literally follow this thing, because it shows like a video where the jet fighters and everything else, they literally follow this thing along, but yet it's like an infrared. Show me real. I want to see an actual photo, RGB or video, and you never see that. Have any of you seen that? Because I haven't. Yes, thank you, William. Crow 777, exactly. Yes, that's the one I was looking for. Yeah, metalhead. Now we got it too. Now it's like, oh, don't have to hurt my head now. I appreciate it there, William. I forgot the guy's name. Yep. Cannot trust media. Some trust, but not the narratives. Exactly, Serge. That's the thing. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, it's okay to watch it because, like I said, I like everything science, and I like everything that's got to do with UFOs and technology and the whole. But you're not willing to just suck it in for no reason and say, I believe all. You can't do that. You literally have to start breaking this stuff down. Like I said, when you got these Elizondos kind of thing going on, yeah, I got, like we talked about in the last one, he's talking about how, yeah, I've seen these photos. They're just unreal. Or people from the Congress, oh, you wouldn't believe what we've seen. It makes you wonder, is it just a setup for something that's really big is going to happen? What's the deal on this? Because I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just like, it's just crazy how when you stop and think about it, you're just going, so we should just believe just because you say it's there. I can say, oh, by the way, guys, I got a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex in my backyard. I feed it meat every night. Should you take my word for it? You go, no, I want proof. Just because I can see these silly little videos, again, in different light spectrums, as opposed to simple RGB of regular film or video, I'm not willing to go, invest 100% of believing into that. That's just me, though. Too fast. Yeah, you're right. You said, Chris, the bottom line, the government is pissing on us and calling it rain. Exactly. It's like, oh, here we go with the buffering again. Are you kidding? I just seen a buffer again, guys. I don't know what's going on. Unbelievable, bro. Serge, you said facts. I haven't. Poindexter, you said, trust me, bro. You haven't measured skepticism. You have measured. Well, you have to be skeptical to begin with, right? It just makes sense. You can't just believe everything. Okay, let's see. What the? Yeah, no, I just seen this thing buffering again. I don't know what the deal is here, guys. It's getting on my nerves. Yeah, it's clear, but then it's just buffering. Just boom. I don't understand. It's getting on my nerves, guys. Really. Let me see. I'm going to try something here just to get an idea if it has gone down a little bit. Let me just see. This won't take but a second here. Like I said, it was running fine. It was like, you guys seen it. It's been running fine all this time. And then all of a sudden, boom, just started buffering again. Like I said, it seems to be fine on my end as far as all my equipment running properly. It's just the idea is the internet itself. And download, you think, would be affected at night. Let's say everybody's on their internet and everything else. You would expect that. You know what I mean? Not upload speed. Download, yes. Not upload. Let me get rid of that. Okay. Check it one more time. Yeah. There you go, Gene. Sunspot. Let me see. All right. That's them numbers there. That's pretty good. It's pretty consistent. It literally, this is what's wild. When it first comes up, it's like stays way up there, then just starts drifting down, man. I don't get it. And you would think if there's something like some moisture in the coax or whatever the case may be, because I've dealt with that too, because I was running a lot of free-to-air satellite before. I had a big 10-foot dish as well as 33-inch dishes and stuff like that. And you know when it's bad, because it literally will cut down your download as well as your upload. Let's see what happens. I'm going to test it one more time. But yeah, it's literally going from, it'll be like 20. You see this drop down. 8, 7. I'm like, Jesus. Yeah, they're having difficulties in this area. 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's literally like 10, 5, 5.5, 5. And oh my God. Oh, whole whopping 5.3. Poindexter said, I think the disclosure movement has been co-opted and is now in PSYOP. Only a company are spinning the narrative impersonate NHI. Well, and here's the thing. You can't just always believe it. Like I said, you literally have to just research this yourself. And you're not going to find anything of any value. And like I said, I've seen it where you have, and I've said this on the last podcast, you have, if you look at every decade that had videos of, or photos rather, of UFOs, they look like these clunky things that you would imagine man would throw together. And as the decades went by, they got better and better and better until you see these tic-tac type things. And you're just like, what? But they've been screwing around with, like I said, anti-gravitics for like since the 40s. These people ain't stupid. They're pretty smart people. And they've been messing with this stuff for years. All right, just want to make sure we still had audio as well. But yeah, I mean, Jesus, I don't understand. Folks, I'm just checking the internet again. I want to see if it's getting worse or getting better. Seems like it's buffering more, so I'm assuming it's getting worse. Okay. At the moment, because we know how that can go, it's at 25. Yeah, Gene, exactly. So the packet rate is getting interrupted. But yeah. Serge, you said Mars Perseverance rover is still taking incredible shots. Yeah, 100%. I'm going to show you guys if this thing will hold on as far as the internet, because I'm a little PO'd. I'm going to give you guys 3 guesses whose ass I'm going to rip off tomorrow morning. Just 3 guesses. I'm not going to pay the money I pay and then not getting it working right, because it's all new equipment and everything else, so that should not be the issue. I keep my stuff on par, and it's like a lot of people here. I don't know about you folks, but if I have something, I don't care what it is in the house, it's mediocre at best. It doesn't work. It's getting 2 things. It's either getting a hammer to it and it's getting replaced, or I'm going to figure out what's wrong with it and fix it. One way or the other, it's not going to be mediocre. So, so when I see this kind of thing happening to the internet, yeah, I get a little ticked off. Uh, Poindexter said, I believe that UAPs are real, but being impersonated by the psyops. And I believe we have visitation coming here, but like why all of a sudden? Why didn't they do it? And now they've been saying it's been here for thousands of years. If you look at the ancient texts and stuff like that, that when we talked about the Mahabharata from the Indian text and Sanskrits and excuse me, when you see this kind of thing or you hear this and read it, whatever the case is, again, I don't think they were sci-fi writers because where would they pull that out of? Hey, I could just think of UFOs, or like they talk about, there's like giant cities warring and all this other stuff. Now, I say that's not the real story at all. The real story is where they're going and finding these civilizations like on the moon, Mars, and we've talked about this. Is it possible? This is getting on my nerves, guys. So then we don't know if it's the same people that built on the moon as they did on Mars, which could very well be. You know what I mean? So, 100%. Now, I want to show you guys something. This is pretty cool. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so this is the moon photo. Like I said, if this thing buffers a little bit, I'm okay with that in a sense, if we can get through it. And you see, this is a thing, I had done like a slideshow / video at one point, and I was showing this particular photo. And you can see it right here. Credit goes to Ken, Dr. Ken Johnston for this archived move. Wow, okay, I can't speak. Moon photo. This photo is labeled 52 in Ken's photo archives, which can be found here. And it's got the whole link. Right from the word go and from the beginning of the Apollo missions, NASA was manipulating photos, rendering them 2D and coloring over anomalies on the moon. Have a close look at this photo and you will see what looks like cities as well as a giant craft on the moon. This is NASA's original photo. Now, what's funny about it, you can see these little arrows and you see what looks like these wild, it's like they try to cover over it and they did their best to do it, okay? This one here was featured, I think, on History Channel or whatever, but it has like this tower, what looks like a platform right here, okay? And you can see it right here. Now, somebody said this is some kind of like giant tower. It's not. It's something that's running on the ground. It's flat on the ground, okay? So we've got other things here circled, which look like either weird structures or some kind of weird shape on here. But this is the biggest thing. And I said this earlier, that Ken Johnston's photos were like the second gen, where in other words, they still were manipulated, but not as bad as they were. I think what happened is these folks thought, hey, listen, if we can manipulate these things, there's going to be some software that's going to come out that they can reverse this or try to cut through our, manipulation overlay. And this piece here in the back, you can see it right here. It's got this, it almost looks like a giant Tylenol is what I call it. It's got a vertical line here. Okay. Vertical line. And you can see it right here. There's some kind of appendage sticking out of that. But I was able to bring out a hair bit more of that, as well as some other pieces here. So I don't know what's going on. Let me see here. Okay. Somebody's hot rodding by here. Like I said, consistent with the download. For some reason the upload's trash. And it shouldn't be. Yep, that's pretty consistent. This literally went up to 10, right back down to like 4.2. It's ridiculous. That's why we're having dropouts. Oh, just went up to 6. If you, all right, quit. Ridiculous, guys. Okay. So anyway, this is the photo here. Here's a very large craft that NASA tried to obfuscate from the photo. Notice how it is white, has a dark vertical stripe on it, and has an appendage sticking out of it. There's what looks like other spacecraft and structures near it. Okay. So we can go into here. And like I said, it's not completely out yet, although we do actually enhance this. Let's enhance the photo and have a closer look. We can look at these first on the bottom, and you can see this pretty well. And we got here. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, it is. Man, this thing's so far behind, it's not even funny, folks. I'm looking at this right now, and it's like, it's completely way. It's not even showing you the photos I'm showing you right now. But anyway, you can see this, what looks like this tower. And this looks like some kind of road or long structure. I can't make out what that white strip is. But you see how they did this right here? You can see it's something really bright. There's actually a round circle. I can see it from there. It's really wild. It's pretty cool. And you see other things here. Well, looks like another tower or something. I think they said that this one looked like some kind of satellite dish. You can see it's round and got this like spike type thing sticking right out of the center, like a prime focus dish type thing. Got these other straight lines in here, going like this here. Got this here. I'm not sure what to even make of this. But now let's go to the top and see what looks like that spacecraft. Again, they literally tried to take this thing out, but you can see this. Check that out. It's got some kind of weird appendage. Now, here's what blew my mind. And the question came to my mind. Is it possible this was us X amount of years ago, trying to build it to get up there and crash it on there instead of getting it to land properly? Is it possible it was ours? Or do you folks, and I'll ask you guys the question, or do you believe it was something to do with, do you guys think it was something to do with like aliens or something had landed there years and thousands of years ago and it just happens to be there? Because we're not, even though it has that weird shape, we don't know if this is A, structure, B, or it is a spacecraft, right? But you can see that. That doesn't look like what you would call a crater on the moon. There's no way. Gene Borsi, he said, I believe they have been coming to visit this planet all along. It's like a rest stop. And you may very well be right. And they were saying that, is it possible that they were educating us humans, like we'll call it pre-human. In other words, we weren't building structures and everything else early on. And they sat in and helped us out. Is that a possibility? I say yes. Or are we really the aliens and we're from Mars or another planet? That's what's crazy. And anything's an option. Okay. Let's see here if I had. Okay, it's just a little bit bigger. Made this a little brighter. And you can see that. Again, we can see what looks like this area right here. It's got these like holes in this. What looks like a smooth surface here, reflective. I'm not sure what all of this black stuff is around it. And then we have what looks like a platform, what looks like almost like a square structure, a very tall tower standing up on this. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I just realized this is probably a little too big. Let's go ahead and minimize that a little bit. And we'll go back up to this other one so you guys can see it. But let's do this. Again, had my head in the way, so we'll show it to you again. Again, I don't believe this is some kind of, structure. It doesn't look that way. It looks more like a spacecraft, some kind of craft, and it's on the surface of the moon. But you can see where they got rid of it right here. And I actually had another photo, which I went all over this area here, and it does have what looks like a fuselage or some kind of weird thing on the front of it. So, yeah, I don't believe this is just it's clearly not a crater. We can see that. Got something right here. That's pretty wild. I don't know what that is, but it has almost looks like these square openings in the top of that. Huh. Actually, the more you look at it, you can see it has a front to it too. Right here. Right there. Huh. Never even noticed that before, but there you go. And again, we'll get back into here. See, I just want to show you folks the other side because I was blocking out with the photo, my face there. But anyway, smooth area, seems to be shiny. We have what looks like a platform here, and it looks like a square tower here as far as I'm concerned. I'll put it right there in the middle of right there in the middle of the screen. And again, we have this, which could be an assortment of what look like structures. I don't know if you'd even call it a runway because it has like this. It runs pretty far. I mean, it's a good distance away. Again, here, this arrow here looks like some kind of ramp type thing, or some kind of straight line going straight up. And again, this here. Okay. Again, you can see this. I got this a little bit better on this tower. And you can see it looks like a square tower. You can see at the very top, it seems black. And then it has these like lighted sides or lighter color, call it what you will, right there. You can see something in here too. You guys see this? This is wild right in here. Put it right in the center of the screen. This is what makes me believe this is some kind of roadway or connecting area. And it's highly, reflective. But it looks like there's structures of some kind of landscaping in the middle of the screen here. I'll put it right there. Seems to be like some landscaping or some kind of structural something there. You can see that. Now, if you look at this one a little bit better, you can see the smooth piece right here. And now I'm looking at it a little bit differently, and I can see what looks like something sticking out, almost like a pipe coming straight out of this object, and it looks like a shadow right here. But it looks like something sticking straight out right here. Put this in the middle here. Coming straight out, but it has a shadow. Now, why do I think that's a shadow? If you look at this so-called crater, which I don't think it's a crater, it's a platform, you can see it's darker on the 4 o'clock position on this. So I believe that is an actual shadow. Again, right here in the middle of the screen. Looks like it has some kind of weird landscaping and some structural thing going on there. Okay. And here it is again. Actually, I just noticed this too. It looks like it has some kind of little square piece right here in the back of it. Folks, for all we know, we could have tried to do this in the 40s and it failed miserably. We don't know. All right, it says in this one, hold on, let me just make this bigger here. It says, is this one of the spacecraft that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were talking about when they said this, Apollo 11, and this is taken right from the type text, stuff like that, when they talked to put into text and everything else. These babies were huge, sir, enormous. Oh, God, you wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, there were other spacecraft out there lined up on the far side of the crater edge. They're on the moon watching us. Okay, there it is again. And I always tell people, don't zoom into this. Use a magnifier on your screen. Do not zoom into the photo. Have a better look at these anomalies. It's better to use a good magnifying glass to see them. There's no doubt that these anomalies are, in fact, intelligently made and not craters or natural formations. We've been lied to on a scale that we can't begin to comprehend. And like I said, sometimes when you go in too much, it just really starts to break apart and you really can't see it too well. That's why I say use a magnifier. I'm going to move into the photo anyway, but you guys can stop it, just look at it with a magnifier if you want to right here. And you can literally see these things a while. And it has a good, they're pretty crisp, especially that one with that UFO type thing. So these anomalies here. And this here. Okay. On May 14th. Now, this is a different one. I've talked about this before. On May 14th, 2014, physics.org posted an article about radar image taken of our moon. This radar penetrated the lunar surface about 33 to 50 feet. What was revealed was astounding. And you can see it here. right from phys.org. And you can see that Mayor Serenitatis, yeah, Sea of Serenity, credit Bruce Campbell, Smithsonian Institute National Air and Space Museum, Arecibo, which literally sent this radar frequency basically in a nutshell, sent it there, and then Green Bank's telescope received it. Okay. And you can see it right here. National Radio Astronomy Observatory's Green Bank Telescope, right here in West Virginia. And I've been there. If I remember, I can bring up those pictures. I can show you I was actually there. In West Virginia, Arecibo Observatory, in Puerto Rico. So sent signal, received a signal. Not from the same dish. Now, here it is right here, radar image. And this is 33 to 50 feet below the lunar surface. And you can see the actual area. That's not radar. It's just what you see with the eye if you look through a telescope. And you can see that it's pretty wild. All right, let me just read some of these guys. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are saying something, but I already had realized I had my screen in the way here. Like in the myth, Prometheus giving fire to humans. Yes, pretty much, Eric. Exactly. We're going to shorten this to say Celtic Reader. Good to see you in there. It's been a while since I've seen you. I'm glad to see you in there. I believe in the Anunnaki theory that the Anunnaki came to Earth and created the human race with a slave DNA. That's what most humans support capitalist and fascist states because humans hate freedom. Well, and yeah, I'm not sure if those are connected, but not a bad theory. But as far as the Anunnaki, yes. I mean, well, they were using us as slaves, so they literally accelerated our genes, basically, and they accelerated us to a working slave, if you will, so that we could do more work for them because they needed, a goal for their atmosphere. And the reason for that is to actually keep the warm air in to make it thicker. And once they came into the 3,600 year elliptical, it literally would protect them from the sun as well, right? So, well, yeah, I mean, you read that story, it's crazy how that is. And this is Posidonius crater. You can see it right here at the 1 to 2 o'clock position. See that right there? Now, just look at the little details in this, and you're going to see this a lot better because I'm going to go ahead and make this clearer. But you can see that there's like these objects that are in a row. It looks like almost like roadways going down different positions and shit like that. It's just really wild. Now, let's bring this really out. Now, folks, have a look at this. You know what they said this was? Lava tubes. And now I said, now that's always a possibility because there's no way to vet yes or no. But you can see like these 3 round things. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 objects in, like this 2 and then 2. You can see it 2 and then 2, and then it's just the way this thing is set up. It's just wild. I don't believe that this is what they say it is. I think this is an actual base or there's underground cities. And you can see right here in the Lin, or Linnae, I guess it is, or depending on how you pronounce it, right here on the left, they saw what looks like things coming in and out of this crater. Now, is it possible that what you see, these craters, these white dots, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this big bezel right here on this one, they're nothing more than, basically gateways to get in and out of underneath the lunar surface. Is that a possibility? I say yes. And again, we can see it right here. This is what you see if you look through a telescope. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The contents of these comments, which is included in the conversations below, has been corroborated by hundreds of amateur radio operators, okay, who had connected their station to the same frequency. Now, keep in mind, at the time, it was 2 meters. Anybody who's into radios know what it means. It's 144.0 to 148.0, okay? And they were on the same frequencies. That's how they knew. And if it was a sub-frequency, it might have been like 144.5 or 0.8. Who the hell knows? Or 144.8. Could have been a sub-frequency, something just off that, main frequency. Frequency through which the astronauts transmitted. During the 2-minute interruption, which was not as it seemed, NASA, Armstrong, and Aldrin with Cape Kennedy censored both image and sound. I say that there were other spaceships. And you can see this. You can just read this yourself. Armstrong and Aldrin, those are giant things. No. Those are not optical illusion. No one is going to believe this. Houston, I guess it was Christopher Kraft at the time, said, What? What the hell is going on? What's wrong with you? Armstrong and Aldrin, they're here under the surface. What's there? A mission interference control calling Apollo 11. We saw some visitors. They were here a while observing the instruments. Repeat your last information. I said that there were other spaceships. They're lined up on the side of the crater. Repeat. Let us sound the orbiter, and it says in 625 to 5. I'm not sure. Automatic relay connected. My hands are shaking so badly I can't do anything. Film it. God, if these damn cameras have picked up anything, what then? Have you picked up anything? And so these guys are literally going back and forth. I mean, they're just... And then it says, what really happened on Apollo 11? It was incredible, of course. We had always known that this is a possibility. The fact is we were warned off. There was never a question then space station or the moon city. How do you mean warned off? I can't go into details except to say that their ships were far superior to ours, both in size and technology. Boy, were they big and menacing. Now, there is no question of a space station, but NASA had other missions after Apollo 11. NASA committed at this time and couldn't risk panic on Earth, but it was really a quick scoop and back then. But it just goes to show you, this is what I'm saying. They had the technology. Ham operators can do this because that's what they were using at the time. Same thing ham operator used, 2 meters. And even if you're using simplex, because you're not going through a repeater, you can easily do this. So, and the average person's not going to be able to pick it up. In other words, you didn't have a police scanner back then. Not back then. I mean, you did, they were crude. But these guys have literally Yagi antennas pointed straight at these things. I mean, right at the moon. So they knew exactly what was going on. They were picking these things up. Aaron Suff, he says, the feed is screwed. I'm out. I mean, it doesn't seem to be too bad right now. It seems like it goes in and out here and there. By the way, is this the moon or Mars? Now, we're talking about the moon at the moment. Celtic reader. And then Gene said, yeah, the moon. Oh, I see. Lots of things there. I wonder what to do I wonder what do the living beings on the moon do all day? Well, there's probably like us. They probably go about their business and they work on the ground and do things, build things. Who knows, right? Okay, let me do this. Okay, that's a little better. Let me go. Okay, so, well, this is what I'm saying. So, is it very far-fetched to believe that that matters? The truth is out there. Never stop looking. And this confirms, and this has been said I don't know how many times, that there was ham operators listening when everybody else was in the dark, meaning nobody could hear it because it was being channeled through, Kennedy Space Station, Kennedy Space, command center. So they literally could hear everything going on. And what they would do is they'd go on an alternate frequency, which the public could not hear, but these guys could hear them transmitting it. So they knew. And if you knew it was going to be on what frequency and you knew it was going to happen, again, these people are pointing these Yagi antennas, and I'm not talking about something small. I'm talking about these things that are probably 10, 20 feet long easily, and there's usually multiple, and literally and the multiplication factor on these things as far as receive or transmit is incredible. So yeah, this is what was going on. Celtic Reader, he said, this looks like a city. Absolutely. Okay. Let me see here. Let me see what I've got. There's another one. Here's another thing. I don't know if I showed you guys this before, but this is a side-by-side of the moon, and I've done a video on this. This is nothing new. But when I first looked at this, I didn't see anything. I'm looking, I'm going, well, I see a lot of stuff right here. And I did go over this, and I don't know how good it came out on the last, podcast. But right here, you can see what looks like structures and things just sitting by there. But this is kind of really not a good photo because I think I blew it up and it just looks all grainy. But this is what was really here. All I had to do is just circle the areas and just bring up the exposure. That's all I did. Now, if you notice right here, next to this giant crater, I think this one here was, I want to say this is like 100 feet across. I'm not sure. Maybe longer. It might have been wider than that, depending on how you look at it. If you're going across it, it's long. But you can see right here as well, in the middle, will look like structures and things sitting there. And I pointed out this object right here. It seems like it's on like a rooftop of something, and there's something right there. I'm going to circle it right there. And if you look at it closely, you can see what looks like round circles on the side of it. 1, 2, here's a rooftop of it. Comes down, has like a flange type thing, like a flat piece, a center piece in the middle, and then coming down, it also has a flat piece. But you can see that. That's just wild looking to me. Again, a lot of people look at the photos and never really get into the photos, and that's the problem. Okay. I want to make sure this thing's catching up here. How's this thing doing now, folks, as far as buffering? It seems like it comes back up and it seems to be fine. Then every now and then it buffers. You can kind of deal with that. But if it's constant buffering, yeah, it's not good. But this, to me, this looks like some kind of 2-story structure here. See that? And you can see other structures here on the side of it. You can see what looks like framework. Not sure what that even is. And again, these right here. Okay. Here is the Green Banks telescope. This thing is wild. These are the photos I took. And you can see how small the people are compared to this thing. Okay. Now, they were actually doing a 3D mapping of this thing. So there's a bunch of people there with drones. And what they were doing is just circling around it, going up and over and around it to, take pictures so they can make a 3D model of it. Now, what's wild about this, they said, well, let me just go to this one here. You can see these are actually elevators, okay? Then you walk along the catwalk over here and go to another elevator, which takes you up into the feed horn. Now, I'm trying to remember how big this one here was, but this thing's actually huge. You can put, I think they said 3 like collegiate or college football fields on this thing. That's crazy when you stop and think about it. And all of the receiving equipment is up here. And the reason for that is so you can get the feed horn right here. You get information, no loss, completely straight from there right into the actual receivers to get the maximum signal, clearest signal. And then, of course, it's all filtered out and brought down to the, the actual receiving room itself or, tech room, call it what you will. Oh, there's little old me right there. And, of course, I was representing Mars rovers and stuff like that. Pretty cool. In fact, I was talking with one of the guys, and I think I told you guys this on a podcast one time. I said, I was talking about it. He goes, well, it seems like you know quite a bit about this. And he says, I said, yeah, do you guys ever use this? He said, we did. And I think they said on Curiosity, when NASA lost, while it was going down and landing, parachute came open, and it was landing, they lost contact with it, but Green Banks did not. So what they were doing is relaying the information back to NASA or Kennedy and they were getting this information back. So that's pretty wild, right? I already showed you guys this the other day. This is wild to me too, okay? And I showed you this before. This is the helicopter that's, from Perseverance. And you can see this is Ingenuity. And you can see something flying around it. Okay, so these are different frames. And I don't get the credit for this. I forgot who had this. But regardless of it, I don't take the credit. But I do put extra arrows on this to show you folks that there's more than a couple of times you see that. I believe there was 9 times altogether. It's in and out of the frame. You guys tell me what you think this is, because I've done this and I was stumped. There's no way. There's no way that this is. See if we can make this a little bit bigger here if we can. Oh, that way. Let me see. Okay. So let's start this thing off. Here we go. Now we go in step-by-step slow-mo. There's the helicopter. Now you're going to start to see the arrows just pop in. Now keep in mind, this thing's flying along. There's one that just went up there. You can see it. Let me see. Right there. Right at the top of the screen, right there. There's one time. Right there. You're going to see it come in from the right. It comes in and it goes back out. Right there. And goes back out and comes back up at the top of the screen. Then you see it flying around, I believe, at the top. It's right here, and it's going around. Right there again, once, twice here, and then it goes back over here. Folks, this is like 9 times it does it. I think it's 9. 9 times this thing's in and out of the frame. What could possibly be flying around that could cast that kind of shadow? It's pretty darn big, whatever it is. Let me see. Let me see here. I read that they use gold. Okay. Yep. Celtic Reader, you said, I think they use gold in their planet. Yes, in their atmosphere. Third Eye Open, that conversation is crazy. And you said, oh, thanks. And then Third Eye Open, you said, I've heard about it, but seeing an actual text is crazy. Oh, absolutely. Let's go to my end now. William Kennedy Jr., you said, hello, all of you out there and here and there and everywhere, and good day to all. Well, good to see you in there, William. Third Eye, you said, do you think that that's why they removed all the repeaters to keep people from hearing? Well, I don't believe they used repeaters at the time, because repeaters basically is what it says it does. Like if I'm a good distance away, I got a repeater up on a tower, like on a giant mountain, on a tower, and it just relays basically, right? Well, they didn't do that because there's no, we're talking from the planet itself to the moon. So they would probably use simplex, just like regular CB, only it's a ham operator frequency. So, but you got to remember something. They got these deep space network satellite dishes. They're huge. So to transmit back and forth is not an issue. It's not an issue. People think it is. Of course, the deniers do. But that's not the case. It's not the case at all. I can tune in on my receiving station. I've got everything from, I've got a radio dedicated just to the ISS. I've got a police scanner. We're all digital. I got, I can watch in real time the Deep Space Network and all of the orbiters around Mars and everything else. And if they're on or off, or they're receiving them at the time, because a lot of times they'll go around Mars. So now they're in the dock as far as signal-wise, so on and so forth. I can do all that. I can listen to all of that. And there's times where, because we're up in the air, there's nothing blocking. So there was several times I could hear them. They were past, I'm in, like I said, tri-state area, and they were in Michigan. They were over Michigan, and I could hear them with no problem. I mean, they literally went up real low, went up to about 12 dB on my meter, 13, 15, and then started to drop down. You get about 5 to 7 minute window to hear them because they're cruising at 17,500 miles an hour. So you'll get that. And all I'm using is an omnidirectional antenna. I'm not using it's basically a super discone, they call it, outside antenna. And that thing, you know what I mean? Because there's nothing to block signal-wise, that's why, there's no obstructions. And that's why they can do that. And not to mention they got massive power and massive antennas to basically, again, giant satellite dishes like the green banks, right? So they can receive these things with no problem. Okay, let's see here. Okay. So I'm trying to get this thing caught up on this screen, so I'm seeing what I'm seeing here. But so anyway, I'm going to play this again, and I'm going to let you guys see this instead of me putting the arrow all over the screen. Watch how these shadows. I'm going to play it several times, and you're going to see this for yourself. Again, this was put in slow mo. He had it, because this is basically a assortment of frames. And when you put it together, you start to see these things flying around. There's something above the actual helicopter casting that shadow. What could it possibly be? You can see it right there. In and out of the frame, going from right up to the middle left, on the center, multiple times. It comes down closer to it because you can see it gets darker shadow, then it gets a lighter shadow. That means the shadow's a little bigger and faint, so it's flying away from and up and over higher. And then when it comes down closer to the ground, obviously it's going to get more defined. So therefore, it's a darker shadow and more defined. Like I said, play it again. There's something on Mars, and it flies. So whatever it is, whether it's a bird or whatever it is, or a spacecraft or something small, like just checking the helicopter out, whatever it is, there's no way they're going to tell us that that planet's dead. I don't believe that for a moment. And you can see it multiple times. And like I said, I'll play it more than once so you guys can see this thing. It's flying around this thing and around and just going around the helicopter. So, and again, you can see where I put the extra arrows. You can see they put this one here, but I've got other ones that I put in. So you got to really see this. Just look for it. Why, yes, Skunk, I am. There it is again, right up there. See, they marked it one time with their arrow, then I seen it up again. That's why I marked it right here. You can just barely see it. Then there it is again, coming into the frame, back out again, back there. They didn't see this, I guess, the other times that it flew around this thing. It's literally buzzing around the helicopter. What the hell is it? They said, well, you know what they said? Oh, that's what it was. I'll tell you what it was. They said it was a micron of dust. I went, okay. Let me see if I can wrap my head around this. So the helicopter's kicking up dust, and I'm willing to go with that. But if it's way up in the air, and it's not going to throw that much air, this thing's not super large, but let's suppose I'm wrong, and it is. Why only one grain of sand? Why isn't there multiple being thrown up in front of the camera? It's one. Come on. We're not stupid here. Come on, man. Folks, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up. I really appreciate you. And after the live feed, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about it and everything else. Other than the buffering here and there, it might have straightened itself out. I haven't really been watching the screen a lot, but it looks like it's been straightened out. And if it gets once or twice every now and then, I'm okay with that. I'm sure you guys are too, as long as it isn't doing it every 2 seconds, which could really take you off. But anyway, like I said, again, I see this thing, and right off the bat, one, I believe there's an atmosphere. And again, they're going to do everything they can to hide this, just like they did about the moon. They didn't go to the moon, like I said, just to look for rocks and all kinds of little, core samples and stuff like that. They went there for a reason, and it wasn't for that. Now, could they have used that in combination? Sure, we'll go with that. But just like the moon, they're doing the same thing on Mars. Nothing was ever lived there. We're just trying to see if there's building blocks of life, which they already knew that. They knew that a while back in 1975, 1976 to be exact, with the Viking lander. But you can see the leg of the actual helicopter right here in the upper right corner. Okay. And again, this thing's flying in and out of there, around this helicopter, above it, literally in and out. And again, you can just barely see it sometimes. So you know it's further up in the sky, less defined. See it? And as it gets closer down towards it, it gets darker. That's how you know this thing's flying different height, different, but again, when they start saying, oh, it's a micron of dust, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I just don't believe that at all. There's no way in hell. Celtic Rita, yeah, you said it's weird, it must be big. Well, again, there's no way to know just how large this thing is, but whatever it is, it's flying around it. And I don't think that the dust is going to continually go around the thing. It's just going to get blown up and then just fall back to the Martian surface. It's not going to keep flying around the thing. What do you folks think is going on here? I've seen multiple photos of the Ingenuity flying in different areas, and there's areas of two things. One, it looks like drainage. You can see like these paths coming down to kind of blend in together and into one, or they're walkways, one of the two. And they're really cut out. I mean, they're defined, right? I think this one's neat. And like I said, combined with the cities we've seen, I still haven't found that photo. I was going to try to do that prior to getting on here, but you guys will see this. We'll do it again. But I think this is wild. Again, take all the pieces that we have, whether from the moon, from Mars, what looks like the last podcast, it showed what looked like a city 75 miles off the lunar, not the lunar, I'm sorry, the Martian surface. We've got something flying around the Ingenuity helicopter. It's just like Eric, you kind of went, ooh, spooky. It's like, I'm not sure if that's sarcasm or not, but the thing is, what could it be then? There should be nothing alive on the planet, right? Nothing. So what are we seeing? And why is it flying around and around the helicopter? But yet it is. So and if there is something alive flying around this helicopter, guess what? There's oxygen. So there is an atmosphere. Especially if you're a bird. I mean, your heart rate, what is that? I forget what the average bird heartbeat is, but it's a lot faster than ours. It would have to have, if there's no oxygen, this thing would not be flying. It's as simple as that. Actually, again, if you look in the very lower right, too, you can just see one of the other landing feet of the helicopter. You got one up here and one down here. What do you think it is? Do you buy the micron of dust flying in front of the camera, or do you think it's something else? See how dark that shadow was? That's just crazy. And then, like I said, the ones that are lighter and not so defined, I think it went higher in the sky above it. So it's changing altitude, and it's still flying around. That wouldn't be a micron of dust, in my opinion. Let me see here. No. Alrighty then. I don't know if this was the other photo had. No, it is not. Oh, this is wild. Again, a lot of times you don't have to do anything to these photos, and you can see what looks like these wild looking things, like things that should not be here, like this right here. Look at this rounded piece right off the side of the Curiosity's arm, right there. Looks like almost a round radius type thing, and it looks like almost like steps was. Well, it looks like it was if you tilt your head to the right, it almost looks like a set of steps that were broken in half. What could that possibly be? See that? It's a sand in the middle of it. It looks like they took something out of it. It looks like they digitized that out. So it's hard to tell what that is. Just going to show you a couple things that just don't make any sense. A tiny craft on the moon. I don't know if that's going to be too zoomed in, but let's see. Just see what happens. Renee, what's going on? Good to see you there. Renee, whoa. Hello in chat. What's going on? Good to see you in there. Celtic Greedy said, good observation. If there were no air oxygen on Mars, the Ingenuity helicopter wouldn't be able to fly there. Well, between that and whatever the hell is living, flying around this thing, right? But they say there's very little air as far as density of air. This is the reason why they had to have it going. I think it was 3,800 RPMs on the rotors. If my memory serves me, it was like 3,800 to 4,000. And they had it in a test cell, so they knew this. They can actually, get it to fly. So by their calculations through the rovers, they can see the atmosphere and everything else, and they say, okay, how much pressure's in the atmosphere, so on and so forth, all of the weather, because they have weather stations basically on these things. Okay, this is what we need to do. So that's what they did. And they built it accordingly, and they had no problem flying the thing at all, so pretty cool. Let me see here. I think we had... This one here was pretty wild. This is on Mars. This is Atlantis Chaos region. When you zoom into this, and you can see some wild-looking things, are these roadways? Are they framework of structures that used to be? Or is it nothing more than simple ground? And we're looking at the ground just pretty much broken apart, whatever the case is, right? Some of it, I would believe that it is. And I wouldn't have any problem doing that, right? J.H. Berry, he said, that is mighty strange. The shadow could be some kind of drone or small aircraft of some type, just a guess. Well, again, we're looking at this thing and we're going, okay, why is this thing hovering around the helicopter itself, the Ingenuity? It doesn't make any sense. So, again, if there's something flying, it might be high-tech, and that's why it doesn't need any air to fly. But, again, you can see it changing altitude by, again, defined and darkened shadow to, like, barely a shadow and real kind of hazy and not very defined. That's telling me it's changing up and down, right? Now, folks, check this out. When I was looking at this, I'm looking, okay, this to me looks like structural, roadways, because when you really zoom into this, you can see what it looks like it's around here, then it looks like almost like a city block, if you will. I'm not saying that's what it is, but it looks like that, right? Now, here's where it gets crazy. Look at this area right here. Look how defined his edge is right here. I'm not saying it's impossible for that to be natural, but you can see that. Looks like some kind of weird little structure right here. Looks like it might have some trees and stuff like that. I believe it has trees still and everything. Look inside this area. You can see what looks like little squares. And you can see circle areas. Like there's things trying to be covered up. They're really whitening this thing up to try to hide what's here. And they do a really good job of it at times. I'm not going to lie. But they're not that good. Keep in mind, these guys, when they were taking these photos of the moon, I'm not sure about the moon as far as that, but as far as Mars photos, they were using GIMP, basically manipulating software and stuff like that. Then they went to Photoshop, and then, of course, they got something much better now. They've got, probably technology on these things you wouldn't believe. And AI, is going to be a good part of this, 100%. Hey, you don't know me, Mom. It's good to see you in there, man. It's been a while. He said, hi, Chris. There's so much more in this than they want us to see. Do your magic on it, and you'll see them much higher off the ground. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then it appears they're living beings in some sort there. 100%. And I actually did a video, I believe, on this particular one, especially in this area here, because it looks like this roadway is going all over the place, something you would expect to see in some kind of city. And like I said, when you got this area here so defined, and most of these spacecrafts, folks, will be around 70 to 85 miles off of the surface. So there's no way of knowing exactly what this, what these things are. Is it possible it could be natural? Sure, 100%. I don't believe that they are. We got this rectangular area here. Pretty close to the rectangle. It kind of fades away on the right here, but you can see that. Third eye open, you said, no dust. It's kind of creepy, though. Oh, yeah. Celtic Greedy said, and how come the color of the areas whiter compared to the other areas that are darker? Well, that's what I'm saying. It's really wild because it's very easy for them to probably put this into some kind of software program, and even in a video, they can make everything whiter, less detailed, so on and so forth. But I don't think they took the time out to realize that what was going to happen is somebody was going to take all of those photos and stitch them together. Right? And like I said, the person who did it to begin with had the big solid red arrows. They didn't mark off all the other ones that was coming in and out. That's why I put the little arrows in there, because I'm saying, what is this guy doing? There's many more times it's in there. They had like maybe 3 or 4. There was like 9 times total. This thing was in and out of the picture. So 100% there's something flying around there. That tells me oxygen, atmosphere. Even if it's atmosphere closest to the ground, which some of the scientists say. Yes, if you're very close to the ground, within a foot, you can actually have breathable oxygen. Although it might be actually, thin, it's still there, right? As I said, you can fly in the air mainly through I think it's ozone, I guess you got. Could be oxygen presidency, but it is not probable just by the ability to fly. In English, ozone is nitrogen, maybe. Okay, I got you. And that's what I'm saying. So the way they said it was like, obviously the atmosphere and everything, the density and everything, that's going to have a lot to do with, how well it'll fly. And that's what they come up with. But really wild. Celtic Reed, that's a good one. Maybe that looks like the minus Turth, rather, and a white city on Lord of the Rings movie. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, and you can see this is all over the place. Let's go over to here. Sometimes you just have to really get in. Here's a good example. Look how this is intertwined into each other here. And like I said, let's suppose there's some white objects there, but what they do is they kind of white the whole thing out so you can't see any individuality and you can't see anything of any detail. And that's what they're trying to do, right? Renee Vo, he said, best channel on everywhere. I do appreciate that. We try our best. And like I said, I know there's a lot of places, a lot of channels that do not show this particular thing. And I'm not saying that they're crap, because there's a lot of good channels out there. But they don't take the time to dive into these. And they don't realize, and I've seen many times on Facebook, just these people posting these photos, they're like, yeah, look at this weird looking rock. It looks like something. It's like, do you understand that rock is actually done by rock mimicking software? It's not real. They don't get that. It's not a real rock. It's actually something else. It's been covered up to make it look like a rock. There's so many times I've seen that, and I guess they just don't get that. Look at this area right here. Take a good look at the center of this. If I was looking at that from a map or on a satellite, I would look at that and go, there's no way this is natural. It's kind of faint right here, but you can see it right here in the gray. You see something that looks like a round platform. And you see something square right here. Let's zoom in as much as we can right there. Round piece here. Something going straight across. And you can see what looks like little lines running off of it. Right here. Folks see that? That's just cool. Celtic, you said, yeah, maybe there are castles there. Who knows, right? I don't know about castles, but definitely structures. The French Walking Man says, I follow you on YouTube since 2014. You are still the best. I appreciate that, man. Like I said, I've always been infatuated with this stuff. Like, it became a hobby at this point. So I said, I'm going to stop making these videos so other people can see these. And at the time, there was other people, really, really good people, really diving into these photos, not just going, hey, look, a rock. It's really funky. Everybody's going, yeah, it's a rock. But again, you can tell a fake rock from a real rock. And when I seen a lot of these things, like I said, my buddy Will from What's Up in the Sky 37, when I first saw, he was one of the ones I watched. And as he's going by, he's saying, yeah, this doesn't look organic. This looks like this. This looks like, and I'm looking at it. I said, wait a minute, hold on. And I paused the video. What the hell? So you can see like this top of a rock, but you can see something white and rectangular just faded, just very lightly through it. I went, okay. And this is what I was saying on the last podcast. Since when do we have see-through rocks? Let me guess. Mars is special. American Bandstand again. Atlas Chaos is littered with ruins of buildings. I have a ton of enhanced photos on this region. You're absolutely right. Karis Ifrit Senzen. I'm probably completely butchering that. Hello. Good to see you in there with the eyeballs like, woo. Let me see. Trying to see if I forgot anybody in here. I didn't see Steve Garner in there. I think he was up there ahead. He's way up there at the top there. William Kennedy Jr. said, yeah, that stuff sticks out like a sore thumb. Oh, 100%. There's just way too much in here that, again, we have these people, who deny either going to the moon or sending anything to Mars, right? This is Venera, Soviet Union. This is when they landed on Venus. Pretty wild. They said, oh, yeah, look at this alien piece right there. No, that broke off. It was a coupler. It broke off the actual craft because when it come down, it just, I don't know if it hammered down or what it did, but you can see the bolts going through it. Clearly, this is some kind of coupler. Pretty cool. This one here was pretty wild. I did a video on this a while back. Looks like a plant. That's just wild. Everybody's like, no, it's a crack in the ground. No, it's actually what looks like a friggin' weed we see here. But pretty cool. This is when they started going over from Curiosity, the end of Curiosity, when they were going to introduce Perseverance, right? Once it landed in 2020, they started using this weird digital crap on it, and you could just tell the difference in texture on the photos themselves. It just looked like crap. I mean, it's the simplest way to do it. Not sure what this is in the very right corner here, but lower right. But yeah, that looks like a plant to me. William Kennedy said, yeah, that's they're a little too confined together to be natural. Now, don't get me wrong. You can have cracks in the ground. You can have this, them kind of like patterns in the ground. We have it here on Earth. However, when you look at some of them, and then you see like these round circles and squares maybe are like in the center of these, you go, okay, what are the chances of that though? So is it something that's natural on the ground itself? And if it is, then there's structures in the middle of it, regardless of that. So you combine the two together and you go, okay, something's going on here that's not quite right, right? Let's see what else we got in here. All kinds of crazy stuff in here. This one here was wild. It looks like a giant mechanical clamp. I mean, that's the best way to put it. I put on there because this was from one of the videos I did of machine parts on Mars. And when you first look at it, you're like, I don't really see anything. Well, look at the back. What the hell is that? Yeah, that's not natural. You can see the very bottom of it right here. Almost looks like a giant clamp type thing. Right there. Crazy, right? Is that natural? No. Eric, Day of the Triffids. You don't know me, Mom? You said, I'm the one with the camera. Well, the camera has been placed dead center and enlarged to make the normal size things on the ground look small, which they are not. And it's mirrors and lights. Yeah, okay. Mirrors and lights type thing. Ian, what's going on? Good to see you there, man. Yeah, it has been a long time. Chris, long time. Good to see you. Hope you're well. I am. Thank you for asking. I hope you're well as well. Metalhead, you said it could be giant scissors. Well, I mean, it looks like a clamp. I mean, it just looks weird. And it's almost like you can see right here at the very tip of this one, it's perfectly sticking out at the same length as that one. What are the chances of that? And look at the way this thing's built. I'm going to really enlarge this right here on the screen. It's almost as far as, that's as far as we can go. Come on. That's crazy to me. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay. There's all kinds of crazy things, guys. I just decided, why don't we just show like a bunch of things that are on either the moon or Mars, right? Let me show you guys this here. I started doing this on, so you guys actually get a video in a live feed at the same time. How about that? And seeing how we're running pretty well here, we'll go ahead and show this. Now, when I see this, now this is almost like a 360. It's kind of this weird wraparound, although it looks like just a regular pan, but it is not. You can see the rover here in the front. You can see it's like bent right here. But anyway, this is what caught my eye. Couple things, actually. See how they ghost things out? They literally can lift darkness or some kind of, I don't know how exactly they do it. I'm going to do this one in black so we can see this stand out better. But right here, it looks like some kind of structure in the background, right? Now, this is where, again, I'm going to go ahead and switch this so we can switch up here. I can see something doing this. Nice smooth corner. Well, I should have been straighter. We got something right here. And what they do is they put a bunch of gray over it like this. They put a bunch of lines over it. So it looks like you can't really see the details or the whole object. Well, we can. There's something all in this area here. And all you got to do is just darken it up. Like if I take the burn tool, and I'll show you this. Burn tool. Well, we're just going to go over this area real quick. Just some wild things just coming out of nowhere. And I'm not drawing these things in. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just bringing this stuff out. What is this object right here? Right off the bat. Right here. I'm going to back out a little bit. It looks like it's too grainy. Right there. And you can see that. Right there. It is in fact there. All we're trying to do is bring out what they tried to take out the black parts of it, shadows, dark parts of an object. We want to bring that back out. Okay? So we want to bring it back up. So now we're going to go ahead and enhance this. See a little bit better. Now you can see this a little bit better as well. Let me bring this over here. You can see this a little bit better. Well, it looks like it's straight edge and it looks like it's kind of nice round corner to it. Something white right here. Okay. Notice there's something right here too, like part of, and you'll see this a little bit better in a second. We have that little item right there, but look what else is right next to it. You can see these objects. I'm going to go like this here, come back around. What are we seeing here? What is this object or these objects Okay. Now let's go to bring it out a little bit more. Again, this is the original. The pieces are there. You just have to bring them out. I'm seeing things here. Now you can see how it's like kind of has that fuzzy look to it because there's something over. There's an overlay over these things. Let me just bring this down here a bit more. Right here. Something doing this. Has what looks like a circle here, circle here. And this object right here. You guys can see that. Kind of went over it. I just circled the both of them. This one's actually pretty long. It goes in the back. And you can see the face of it here. Well, a little screwy on that one. You can see that. Right here. Whoops. Right there. These objects are there. Again, you just have to bring them out. This. Not even sure what to make of this area here. You can see that still. Right there. See that? Yeah, this is not, again, it's very easy to do. When you see whited out ears like that, go after it like a pit bull. 100% there's something else there. And again, to try to fade the back of this out. Right there. Go to the other side. Doesn't look like a whole lot of anything here. And this is really hard to bring out. And I still couldn't even get it all out. But this whole area, it's got something in it. Let's move in a little bit. And you can see, I can see what looks like little lines here, like coming down like this. Another one here. Another one here. Little straight lines. Okay. Started bringing it out a little bit. You can start to see little objects in there, little pieces in there. Notice the white areas here. Just barely there, but they're a little bit brighter than the rest of the area. Again, this is so, you can just see all that fuzz all over this. But there's something in here, and I can't make out what it is. I'm going to assume because of the size of the area. If you look up here, this is where it gets wild. Look at the background here. Notice how this thing, I'm just going to zoom into this area because this is wild. Check that out. We have what looks like some rounded, like ball type thing sticking out of this. We have a square here. Again, what are the chances of you seeing a round piece and a square at the same time, same area? We have objects here. Straight lines right here. And you got all kind of white area. You can see what looks like either openings or something. Something down here. You can see these going like this. Not even sure what to make of it. You got something sticking straight out right there. Right on the tip of that. See that? Oh, here we go. The buffering again. Okay. Thomas Stone, you said, now we're cooking with Pam. Oh, yeah. And either way, not natural, metalhead, you said. And then, yes, he threw rocks. Yeah, we get those all the time, right? Third eye open. Let me bring this back out. Wow, and toward the left, there are more cool things. Yeah, absolutely. Bunch of scattered machinery. Something Reedy said, wow, there's a bus there. They have these weird shapes, so it kind of throws you off. But you can see these things in here. It's not natural. Another junkyard of an ancient past. Metalhead, you're right on. You hit it right on the head. And I wish this thing would stop buffering again. It's this weird thing. It's like it works good for a while, then buffer a little bit, and then Steve Garn, I'm good to see you in there, and I'm glad you were here, brother. And I know it's late for you. We're going to try to do this on the weekend where we can have a lot more time. I'm not sure about this weekend. I'll let you folks know. So just to let you know, and let you go at the same time. Good to have you in there. You don't know me, Mom. Says, okay, I see two human-looking men looking out of holes, and then also smaller human-like creatures around them. This is crazy. Celtic Reedy said, and I think there are more things in the hill in the background. There are. Absolutely. That was in the last picture. Yep. Celtic Reedy said, I think there are vehicles in there too. Yep. All right. Well, that's pretty cool in itself. Again, try to hide all the details. Nothing there to see. And yet, oh, I just noticed this. Huh. Interesting. Check this out, folks. Totally skipped over this. What is this object right here? What is this? Literally going like this. Let's see if I can do it properly here. And has, I'm just going to kind of color them in a little. Whoops. Didn't want to do it that way. Looks like a line coming down the middle. And then another opening. What is that? See that right there? I'm going to go ahead and enhance it. You guys see that? The heck is that? That's what I'm saying. There's so many things in these photos. Now, some of it could be natural, of course. But some of them, not so sure about. I don't think so. Not in my opinion. Not even sure what that is right there on the ground. Put it right here in the middle. This object right here. Looks like it's got like a dark square head to it type thing with a circle in the center. And, although some of it's been obscured, right there. Mr. Happy Stacker, good to see you in there. Okay. So I just figured you guys actually got a video actually with the live feed. How about that? Let me see what we got here. Yeah, I like some of these photos. They're just wild. And that's one we looked at earlier. Looks like they're weird. I said, turn your head to the right hand, the right hand side of this, the turret arm of the rover right there. This is pretty wild because when you look at this one, really not a whole lot to see until you really start zooming into it. And up here at the top, see these straight lines, what looks like these kind of smooth oval openings. Of course, this is a little grainy, so I get it. Look at this rock here. What is this white piece inside this rock? Even if I was to back out a little, right there, this rock at the foreground. All this in the background, pretty wild. Problem with it is you can't zoom in too far because then you're going to start seeing these compression artifacts mixed in with the photo. Something sticking out right here. It's like a ring type thing. It's kind of going up, around, and back down into the ground, the sand. You got something white right here in the background at the top of the photo. But this is the Viking lander. Let me see here. Here's some of the side-by-sides I had done. Complete cover up, nothing there to see. This blows my mind. You look at it right here at the lower left, it looks like this grayed out area. It's like, oh, yeah, maybe that was mud. It's just like look at over here on the right. You can see it digitized out, but look at the objects just above it. Okay. Almost nothing there to see, but you can see some kind of shape up here, right there. Well, that's what it looks like right there. Another piece here. I'm not sure what that even is. But again, we have this manipulation you got to try to see through. Objects right here. All in these whiter areas, you can always see them. Basically nowhere to be found. Again, take the detail away. Nobody's none the wiser. Looks almost like an arch type thing right here. There's so much in these photos, folks. It's crazy. Again, this wants to make it look like it's straight across, nice flat ground. It's not. You can see the top of that manipulation, but look what's inside it. This is Apollo 14, by the way, with Ed Mitchell. You can see something's lying in there, and you can see the top of their manipulation. So there are objects in here. Now, what they are, I couldn't tell you. There's no way I can tell you that. But you can see, like I said, the top of it, and yet there's an object inside this. So that's telling me that this is false. You can see that. There are objects there. These guys were there investigating structures, whatever else. He's one of the first photos taken of the moon. If you look at that carefully, especially on the lower area right here, you can see what look like structures and 90-degree angles and all kinds of crazy stuff. And this one, all I try to do is take these shadows out to try to match it. So you don't have this right here, because these are basically vertically stitched together. You can see that. So you want to try to get rid of those lines if you can, at least most of them, or try to balance it a hair bit. Now look here. Lower part of the photo. Whoops, a little too far with that. Right there. Susie, good to see you. And he said, hi, Chris. I worked late, but I made it. Well, good to have you in there. Wish this thing would stop buffering, I swear to God. Oh, I'm going to be making a phone call tomorrow. In fact, I might just give him hell tonight. Heck yeah. What's obvious about everything, it's all confined in one area. It's not like it's spread out all over. There's pockets where it's confined and obvious. Yeah, that's what's really wild, right? I mean, it's like, so you know it's like a congested area on some of these photos, right? It's not just like sparsely, you know, like, oh, there's something way over there, there's something way over there. It's not like that at all. It's literally everywhere. And like I said, these are my side-by-sides, where I'll take a photo and then enhance a little bit. This one, again, nothing in the background. It's completely flat, folks. You just go down this little hill and it's a nice little flat ground. It's not. There's things in the background here. Not sure what to make of these. But you see where they took the line, they stopped it right there. But look, there's objects inside here. Especially this here. You can see it a little bit better on the right-hand side. Right here. You can see that. Apollo 14, like I said. Pretty wild. Now this one here is wild. And I've done a video on this, Apollo 17, and I've always asked myself, why would the other astronauts stand way the hell back here to take the photos? Why would they do that? So the only thing I can think of is that they want to see, you can see the crosshairs, right? So they can see the distance between each object, and they can get an idea just how big these objects are. Now, again, looks like a flat ground, nothing there to see, folks. But if you look, there's like these white areas that are stretched out. Doesn't look like much of anything. Maybe it's just a wispy dirt. Nothing there to see. There is an actual, went the wrong way here. There's an actual crater here. Right at the very left, you can see that, next to this crosshair. And there's what looks like a little rock here or something. But again, these little white straight areas are here. And again, why are they taking this photo so far away from this astronaut? Well, there's a reason. These straight lines are much more than that. Here's your crater on the left with the crosshair, and here you are. They want to see just how far or how large these things are compared to the rover and the astronaut. This is why they're really here. Even when you look at this other rock over here on the right in front of the rover, you can see some other weird things, look like round circles and weird things sticking out of here. Yeah. You don't know, Mom? He says, a hatch off of a vehicle. Yep. Kind of looks like that way, don't it? But there's your side-by-side with that. Apollo 17. And the number for this, if you guys want to take this down, it's AS17-137-21010HR. So there you go. And I've always said that these are nothing more than a template in the back, these mountains, these hills, and they can drop it anywhere they want. But how does the ground look normal when you got this here at the top, then a little bit lighter over here? Oh, wait a minute. Then there's another little area that's thin, that's dark, and then wait a minute, it's all grainy and kind of details missing. Wonder what that could be. Again, stand back, and you can see what these guys are really here for. I don't know if you folks remember seeing that other video the guy had. It's supposed to be like this close-up where the astronauts are walking through that would look like these stone structures on the moon, and everybody said it's BS. I don't know. When you see this, kind of looks the same. Not saying that's what it is, but it kind of looks the same, right? Thomas Stone, he said, one day, I hope soon, you will be vindicated. You and I both. At least before I drop dead would be nice. You don't know me, Mom. He said, Chris Bix X on the top hillside. Go back to the one he was on. The Bazaar, Renee said. I don't know if you're talking about this one here. You don't know me, Mom. I'm not sure if you're talking about that one. What are you talking about there, Metalhead? In this one here or the other one? Oh, you must be talking still on this one here. William Kennedy Jr. So, Chris, what is your conclusion on why the cover-up? I've known about these things on Mars since I was 14 years old. I'm 72 now. Honestly, because it's technology up there they want to keep for themselves. That's what it comes down to. That's exactly what it is. It's technology they wanted to, they want to hide or they want to keep for themselves, and they don't want the public knowing about it. Probably not so much the public, but other countries. Now, people who are working together, because I believe there's like a whole bunch of these people from other countries, the people who really own the planet, the ultra elites, ultra rich, call it what you will, they pull all the strings, and they're saying this is what goes. And of course, we got the Department of the Defense, which is big time into this, and they don't want people to know about it. It's as simple as that. They're like, we don't care. No, later on, we'll just say, yeah, by the way, there used to be life in there. We can see like microscopic life, definitely life. It's going to take a while before they come out and they say there was other life on that planet, like on Mars or on the moon. But they're going to make sure people are desensitized by all of this that they're showing people around UFOs and this, that, and the other. and they're going to make sure people desensitize before they do it. Or, and I said this before, until there's a base on the moon or Mars, they're not going to say anything. Because here's the thing, we've already conquered going up there and building a base. So now we can say, well, we found evidence that somebody else had done it before too. Pretty interesting. And nobody's going to care because they're going to say, well, we got such a good technology now that maybe they had the same thing. So yeah, nothing really too spectacular. If you were to show all of this stuff back in the 60s, people would be freaked out. Because why? We don't really have that high technology and then try to fathom how the hell do these people get on this moon or this planet and see this or build these things. Oh my God, and it would mind boggle them. Now like I said, we've seen so many UFO movies. We've seen so many, like Independence Day. Of course, they always, portray them as super evil. They're going to take over the planet and kill everybody here. The list goes on. Let's see. Tony Wilson, you said there's so much stuff to see. This is awesome. Nitin is, I'm pronouncing it correctly. If not, just let me know. Dark Side of the Moon might be an alien huge base. Well, there are actually bases on there, and some of the astronauts say that. And I've had photos where you can see what looks like objects on that side of the moon. So, yeah. Tony Wilson, you say, I always see clouds, but sometimes I also see reptiles. And it looks like it's even some Martians sometimes. Well, the only reason why I don't, maybe my brain's not wired that way. I can see what looks like structural, mechanical. I see things like that. I don't know. But I don't really see beings. Like most people say, oh yeah, 100% you'd see beings. I'm going, I don't see them. And it's just maybe this is the way my brain's wired. I just noticed this right here in the very corner of this. Look at this. That's wild looking. Right there. This is opportunity. This is the real color of Burns Cliff. This is not, what you see here is not that. That's crap. Susie, you said it looks like a bridge. Well, I think it's actually structural framing, you know what I mean? But yeah, it looks a lot like a bridge. Thomas Stone, yeah, I know. I'm glad you guys are here, dealing with it like I am as far as the buffering. It's aggravating as hell. But we're going to change that. Oh, we're going to change it. Keep in mind, if anybody's going to be more aggravated, it's going to be me. I'm trying to convey these things to you, and this is what I'm getting. And you can see right here, try to pull out anything out of this photo, but clearly manipulated. You can see that redacted photo. All the information has been pretty much taken out of it. And you can see the density of it because you can see the squares, the digital squaring and stuff like that. But there's something straight across. You can see other objects in here. But you can see where they try to put over this to hide whatever's here. Yep. Let me see here. I believe this is China. Come over here. Look at this crap. You can just see this is so manipulated. The other countries do it as well. They do everything can they did to hide what's in there. Because again, we're talking about elites, the people that are going to hide this stuff. They want to keep it in, not in our know, but their know. Something reader, he said, wow, NASA erased all of the things on the left hand. Yeah, they basically sanitized these photos. This is weird because I put on there, it looked like a hieroglyph of a plane of some sort. See what looks like a rudder kind of thing? Look like wings. You can see one here. It's not really that good, but just weird picture type thing. Just brought it out. It was just like this lined over here on the right of that. But yet I just docking them up and there you go. It looks like some kind of weird person sitting on top of it, a set of wings, and kind of flying. See that? Almost like a glider type thing. The head of it and whatever else laying right there. I'm not saying that's what it is. It kind of looks like that though, right? Kurt Urbanus, what's happening? Good to see you in there. Lightfoot, you said, I think there's stuff up there from the past. Oh, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of stuff there. Yep. See something here. Let me see. What I call the plane on Mars. That's the actual color of Mars, by the way. I believe this was Phobos. Some people call it Phobos. No. But whatever, it don't matter to me. But it looks like there's an atmosphere to me. I could be wrong. But you can see that. You can see some green, some browns. That's telling me it's not just a red planet. Although they do have dust storms. And it's like copper in the air. Read that carefully. Minerals and metals too. Absolutely. Out back now. Okay. No matter how paranoid or conspiracy minded you are, what the government is actually doing is worse than you can imagine, or worse than you imagine. William Blum, former U.S. State Department employee. What's that tell you? Also this. Don't believe what I post. Research what I post. I've always said that. Kurt Urbanus, she said, why does the image on the right have mold? It's not mold. It's actually, what you see is like the green. That's the density of the manipulation. Because if they want to really lay it on thick, you've seen it where I've showed, when I go over it, you'll see it like it'll have blues, like slight reds, greens, have all kinds of weird colors. That's because it's the density of whatever they're putting over these things, and that's the colors that just seem to come out. That's why you'll see a lot of times when I do that, I will show a black and white after to get rid of those colors, or at least bring down the saturation so it's not as noticeable and really messing with your eyes, right? Let me see. This one here is pretty interesting. You can see some things in here, like this block. This is from Sol 184. See these weird things like something over here. These two objects. This block. See something right there. I don't know if this thing ran over something. A straight piece of metal or something right here underneath the rover. Ran over something. I'm not sure what that even is. I've done this one here. I called it like the elevator meter. It has what you can see, the straight piece going straight across. See that? Kind of looks like it almost overlaps. Right here. It goes up in a radius on the right. Goes into this rock. And I believe it comes right back down the other area. And it looks like it has this weird needle like you see in the old, elevators. It's got that weird look to it. What the hell could that possibly be? Metalhead, you said we've been on the moon and Mars for decades. Yes, absolutely. Like I showed that last when I asked the Alexa app, or both of the Generation One and Generation Two of Alexa, I call them hockey pucks, but and asked them, and what did it say? One was 1977, the other one was 2015. Now, if somebody did correct me on that, well, not correct me because I didn't say I researched the person, Richard Orm, or what's his name, Orm, and said it was some kind of writer or something like that or whatever. And I never said I looked at it. I just asked the question. There it was. Now, there was no defined explanation for the 1970s. It said people for the first time went to Mars, 1977. Does that sound far-fetched? I don't think so. When you think about the moon missions, you say, okay, those are also a way to, practice being in space. Venera 9, which I always found this one interesting. And the reason for that is you can see what looks like these straight, like almost like an angled wall in the background, right here where my mouse, right here, the cursor is, right here, going all along the back here. It looks like something is slanted, like a slanted wall. And keep in mind, this is Mercury, by the way. It is. That makes no sense. This is Venera 10. And they've done some major work on these photos, folks. Even though this goes back some time, that doesn't mean they didn't figure a way to kind of scribble stuff out. Aristarchus crater. The Luna 17 spacecraft carried Lunicod 1 to the moon. And these were, like I said, they were 8-wheel electric motor rover, would take samples. And then, of course, this lid would open up. And, of course, we have a directional antenna. We can shoot the information back to Earth. And this thing, like I said, it drove for like 1.25 miles, I believe it was. That's crazy to me. That's, so they wanted to see what was really out there. They wanted to look around as much as they could, take as many samples if they could. Who knows what else it was doing? This is obviously Mars. Now, and I've always done this. I've always showed people, when you put this into Photoshop and you do auto color, auto contrast, so on and so forth, you'll see this change. But yet the insignia just maybe turns a little bit darker. But that's it. That's it. But look at Mars now. And this is done automatically through Photoshop. Now, watch the insignia. It's actually maybe slightly lighter. So this was put on after this actual photo was manipulated, and this was put on. That's the actual photo right there. Yep. Just cleaned it up a little bit, but that was it. But you can see the reds, the browns, the greens. You can see all that. And you can see how it's thinner atmosphere right here, but it gets super thick because now you're looking at it from, like if you're looking like through the water, like let's say your eyes are like this, just above the water. You're looking at it like that, so it's thick as there, but it gets thick, and then it's a little thinner, then almost you can't see it at all. These are those rocks I was showing you in the last podcast. Right here. And you can see the wheel marks, as I was telling you, right here. So they're pretty big wheels. And you can see from each turn, you can see one here in the very, very lower left. And then it rolls, and there's the next one right here. It goes from here to here, here, and here. They drove over this stuff, folks. And you can see that. Just the radius stones. Got the arch-looking stones right here. You got the radius front one right here. And we've got this block way up in the corner. Again, that looks like some kind of little weird animal type thing and carved, like carved into the rock, basically, right? We got the radius stone right here. And, of course, we've got in this blue square, we got this kind of arched stone, straight edge on the left. And, again, this one in the front of that stone. And, again, this looks like some kind of weird face, but it's just, I think that's just manipulated over. But this stone here blows my mind because it's got right here. It looks like it's kind of see-through here in the end, but look at this box laying here. It's like a silver piece at the end, and then and it's like a black block type thing underneath it. See that? And again, it looks like see-through on this end, but they've tried to cover whatever this thing is up. But this part here, that's crazy. Now, check this part out. It looks like a hood to a... If you look at the engine on one of these rockets, right? Instead of it being round around the whole rocket, it looks like a louver or some kind of weird hood over this. And you can see it's round inside, right? On top of, it almost looks like this weird car. I'm just saying it looks like it's just sitting on top of it. And there's this weird looking piece right here. And you can't see it right now, but I believe I have the enhanced part of it. And it looks like some kind of hinged mechanism that opens and closes. All right, see it there? Now, again, these things are not very big. We're going to zoom into it. Again, here's that piece. Again, you can see it going like this. And it has a round piece right here, like it's connected to this body of this object right here. And it has that weird louver type thing over, it looks like an engine. And we have this black and silver box. And whatever this is here, it looks like it's transparent at the end of it. And it almost looks like a car. Now, I even thought about it. So, what the hell's the wheels do it? Oh, maybe it's a flying car, like a hovercraft. Something like that, right? But you can see these objects now. And there is the link to it. It is SAL 173, a mass cam. And it is the MSL, so the Mars Science Laboratory, which is the Curiosity rover. Now we're going to take some of the color out. We're going to have a little bit better look at it. Check this out. These objects are not... You know what I actually thought this was? Think about this a minute. If there was a civilization there, toys? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the hell you even call it. But that is a link, 173, mass cam. Now I put some lines around it so you guys can see this a little bit better. Right there. And then I'll go back to the other one. Do Flamingo, LMU, I guess it is. My question is to you is, how do all of the countries that have gone to the moon, including China, censor the image such a way that all the images have consistency? Well, again, we don't know if they're doing this by computer that does it automatically. In other words, let's say it's, they put in the information. Anything that looks like it's not a rock or, natural, this is the way you cover it up. And it just knows every time it sees something now, it just simply covers it up in the way that it's been programmed to do. And I've said this a bunch of times. It's wild the way they do this. But China's doing it just as bad. I've seen some photos that look so bad. In this day and age, they got 4K and 8K photos of the moon. They do. Crystal clear. Why are we giving garbage? Okay, going back to this. Again, you can see this right here. And again, once I've straightened this part out here, you can see the mechanism right here, actually, right there. Well, it looks like something mechanical on this right here. Right there. And again, that black and silver box, this weird thing, and it's got this weird hood type thing right here. And we'll bring it down to, like I said, draw it around it, and there you go. This is what outlined is what it looks like. Space agencies want you to believe that Mars is red, lifeless planet. The truth is out there, when in fact it's a lot like Earth in many ways. That's the real deal right there. Steve Carenza, you said amazing vision. Always blown away by what you pull out of the so-called monotony. Yeah, basically monotonia. NASA wants you to believe. Well, yeah, I mean, they weren't anticipating people to start ripping these photos apart. They weren't. But when they knew that they were going to, as technology went along, more and more people had PCs in their home, started getting these manipulation softwares and enhancing softwares, and they went, oh, hell, this is the reason why they went back into the moon photos, and there was different generations of them, so they started going over them to try to cover up what was in them. This is the reason why we had different ones with different discrepancies. Let me see. Oh, yeah, there I am. Journey to Mars. And of course, like I said, I had a shirt on it at the time. Yeah, it was actually interesting. There was a lot of things that we could do on there and cool things. See these big rockets when you first walk in there. These weren't the super big ones, of course. You can see the people there on the left underneath this canopy. Let me see if I can find this photo too, by the way. Oh, look at that. There's the rover. It's real. And you can see it's basically all aluminum framing. Basically lawn chairs they wanted the lightest weight they could possibly get on this rover, and they did. Really wild. You can stand right next to the thing. I took it right here. You can see the control panel, everything they had to do. And it's basically just, you can see, because they had gloves on. They didn't have to have little tiny handles. So they had this big one right here. Put it right in the middle. They just push forward, backwards, and they can go back and forth like a joystick. As you see, this is pretty thick metal as far as these chairs. They were just, I wouldn't say high density, but it was basically tough aluminum. But that's what they did. They did everything they can to make it as, smooth as possible. And light, and so on and so forth. There's the other piece to it. You can see where you can put the equipment on it, and you can carry it along. You can see the scoop they had right here with it. Pretty cool. William, you said, we don't spend all this money just to go to the moon or Mars until everybody know nothing to see here. Well, yeah, and that's what it comes down to, right? And again, here. On the capsules right here. You can see that. You can see all of the flags they have right here as far as working with NASA at the time. You got Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, Norway, Russia, and Spain, and of course, multiple others. But it just gives you an idea. There's a whole lot of people working with the government, with our NASA and everything. But you got to remember who's the top tier, who's really in charge here, and that's the DoD. They got a lot to say on what goes on in here. Let me see. Just give me a second here, folks. I'll go unlock the door for the better half. Uh-uh. Okay, we are back. Put the video back on. Okay. Let me see here. You don't know me, Mom. You mean they have photos of Mercury? Oh yeah, 100%. They've landed there. Okay, let me see. Here's another one they had done, but this is like when they were trying to figure out, like, put it together like just to start, like, okay, how can we build this? And then of course they changed the wheels over and everything else. That was basically a concept. This gives you an idea of just how big the engines are in the back of these rockets, or the bottom, call them what you will. International Space Station, Triumph of Technology and International Corporation. You got the CSA, ESA, JAXA, all of these guys are in this. Roscosmos, so you got Russia in there. But it's about the size of a football field. You can see that. 357 feet, or 109 meters, by 239.4 feet, 73 meters. So pretty darn big. Of course, an average football field is 360, or at least a Pro Bowl, right? So yeah, I mean, pretty wild. Those are all concept. See, look, it was done on a stage. Done on a stage. Oh my God, this isn't a museum. They're just trying to show you. Again, I think the lander is 23 feet tall, and you can see what at the size of the actual astronaut would be. Well, yeah, interesting. Here's another one: is Opportunity, Victory Crater, or Cape Verde. Enhanced on the left, Roar on the right. And you go, oh, well, there's nothing there. I just see a platform, because there's a crater here in the very right. But then when you go back over to here, there is something there. Look carefully. There's some pieces. There's some kind of, I don't know what this is, but all along here, there's some kind of wall or some objects. And you can see spaces in between them. So clearly, you can see what looks like a little, I don't know how to explain that. Right here, there's some kind of like little, I don't know if it's just part of or something sitting on. I'm not sure. But you can see that right there. There's something right here. This is not normal. And it's at the top of this crater wall. Look right here. Check this out. Pretty wild. But again, they'll do everything they can to hide it. Let me see here. But I think, let me see if this in here. Now, this is a total different photo. Oh, let me see. Right to. I was just, when I was trying to ask AI about the icy plumes of Enceladus, I was saying, no, it's just plumes, this, that, and the other. That was too funny. But, Do Flamingo, you said, what are the thoughts on the T-Mobile home internet? Has it changed? Are you planning on returning it? Already have, yes, junk. But then again, I can't talk too much. I mean, this thing's been a total piece of crap for me here. I don't know if it's because of the storm we had the other day or what it is, but we had nothing but technical problems. We first got into this, and then I started up the feed again, buffering like mad here and there. And then it seemed to clear out a little bit, and then got a little buffer, and it was just on and off. So we're going to get that straightened out if I have to call these people up and scream at them. But yeah, we're definitely going to be doing that. Because it's like, it just needs to be straightened out. But yeah, I returned that. The thing is, like I said, I mean, I went over there and I was just, he said, oh, you got the bottom tier. I went, so what does that mean? It's useless? What does that mean? I understand what you mean by like, well, you're going to have a faster speed if you get the higher tier. I get all that. But how do you have one that's a bottom tier and has 0 speed? It's just as bad as it was here as far as the upload speed was garbage here earlier. And it's still not 100% because it buffers every now and then. Sometimes it'll buffer like every 5 seconds, and sometimes it's completely fine. So I don't know what the deal is. So yeah, I returned it a long time ago. And thankfully there's no contract. So I was like, just take this piece of trash back. I said, dude, it was one meg of that. It was like a kilobyte. I said, it's ridiculous. I said, I can't even stream music on this. So it's completely useless. And you're going to charge me money for that? Please. Well, if you get the higher tier, yeah, I know that's what you want. So for the same amount I was paying for that, which is like $55, I've got Comcast locked in for 5 years for that. I was like, yeah. And it's usually consistent. I don't know why he was giving me crap. But it is technology. And you know how that goes. All righty. Let me see. Also, you said, how is work? Anything interesting stories? I think last time there were some guy that didn't want to work. He was talking about PTO, but it was like a couple of years ago. It's hard to tell. I don't know if you're talking about my job. Yeah, it's, here's the idea. Here's the thing. I don't know how old you are, and most of you folks on here are, but it seems like the older you get, the more up things are. I'm going to be nice about it, but it's like people just do not want to work. Period. Especially the younger generation. Now, I'm not saying none do, because there are some that are like they've been brought up right, and they will work and they do the right thing. They get out on their own, they live their life, they buy the car, get their own apartment, maybe buy a house later on, and they do the right things. Most of them, they're either on some kind of drug, and, a lot of people say, what about weed? It's still not in your right mind, regardless, right? It alters you somehow. But regardless of that, that's not even the main thing. It's not even a big thing. When you start getting into meth and all this other crap, they don't come in half the time. They don't want to work. And then when they do come in, they're so wired that they just do dumb things. And yeah, it's just crazy. None of them want to work anymore. And the older you get, the more you see this. And you go, what happened to this planet? I mean, really, I just don't get it. But, but you know how that goes. It is what it is. And this is a legit question. Thomas, why do you believe we haven't? He said, never been to the moon, kiss this one and make that one jealous. Sorry. I mean, so how do you think it is? How do you think that we didn't? I mean, I'm sure you got a strong point because, I think another person just did last time we were on the air, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I have no problem with that. But as long as you've done your homework and it's legit, and I always say that, because like me, it's like if I get into something, I go, wow, that's kind of wild. I'm not sure I believe that. I'm going to do a deep dive and I'm going to research it. I'm not going to look at other people's videos saying that I don't believe it because of this reason. Most of the time, I'm not saying all, most of them are just ignorant because they're just ignorant comments or reasons why they don't believe because they've never done any homework. Now, some people have legit questions and it can be easily answered. It's really not complicated. Crystal, you said it's 11. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 2:11 a.m. and the Islanders are winning against. I want to keep watching. I'll say good night and thanks for the interesting live. Well, I appreciate that, Crystal, and I'm glad you joined us. And like I said, I'll keep everybody up to date. We're going to do another one. We're going to try to do them like in the beginning of the week and maybe in one on the weekend. We're not sure yet. But maybe if you guys would rather have the live ones doing this, or would you rather have, just videos and that as in the lives as well? I don't have a problem with it either way. We can do that. But thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. The only reason why I'm on a little bit late is because I don't have to work tomorrow, which is a good thing. But thanks for joining us again, and much love to you, and have a good night. Trying to find this other photo I had. Now, this one here, I've done a video on this. This is Pluto. And this one's wild. Renee, you said, okay. Thanks. Great channel. Later, all you. All right. Good seeing you there, Renee. And you have yourself a good night. Um, Okay, so Thomas, now you got me confused. Because then you're saying, first you said we've been back and forth there many times, but then you said we haven't been there, so I'm a little confused. William Johnson, you said night, Chris. All right, William, thanks for joining us, so we'll do it again. Joan, what's happening? He said, just missed you, Chris. Have a good one. Well, we're still on here for a little bit longer, not much longer, but we will stay on here for a little bit longer. Thomas Stone, you said, but cool. Come back on later tonight. We don't want to be doing that. But here's a good example. This is Pluto. And just look at some of the objects we've got in here. Okay. These are pretty cool. Just these weird objects and shapes of things that probably shouldn't be on a planet that's way the hell out. You can see it right here. This has got like this round circle with we're going to use the term extremities going off from the center. Right here, we got this, what looks almost like a complete square or rectangle. It's hard to see, but there it is. Right here, it looks like some kind of weird arched item, like structure or something. This right here. Can't really adjust this unless I flip it all the way around. I can't really do that, so you have to really tilt your head in a sense. I've done videos on this. This is crazy, this stuff. Look at this. Look at this structure right here. Right here. These are shapes you probably shouldn't see on a planet that's way the hell out. However, again, we were a binary star system, so we had two suns at one time. And the other one's way off in the distance past Pluto. Makes sense. Have heating up there, solar heating. Solar over on this end. There's a very good chance there was life on every planet in the solar system. Well, within reason. Unless you're on a gas giant, but we don't know if there's any actual, solid parts of that. You don't know me, Mom. He said, I'm sorry, I don't believe that they went anywhere in the vehicles that they show people. They were in much more advanced vehicle, probably gotten from the ships that they've been down here on Earth. Oh, so you're saying that we have better technology that's not telling us. That I could agree with. I can agree with that. Is it possible we could reverse engineering, so on and so forth? But I believe we did actually go in the vehicles that we did have, but that doesn't mean it didn't change. So when they say, oh, by the way, yeah, we don't have enough money to keep doing these missions, and I've always said I think they kept going. They had Apollo 18, 19, 20, so on and so on. And it's very easy to do if you were to take something even like the SR-71 and retrofit the engines in it, have an astronaut with, total atmospherics he needs to survive. And the thing's what? It's literally invisible to radar. So that means they could take off. If they can retrofit it to go out into space, literally can go right to the moon. No problem. Now, that's purely speculative, of course, but that doesn't mean they can't do it. I mean, you got some of the smartest people on the planet working there at these places, Lockheed, Skunk Works, all of these places. You remember, too, if we go back to the SR-71, that thing was probably the plans were made up in the 40s, designed and built in the 50s, and it didn't become declassified until the 80s. So for 30 years, this thing was just top secret, and look at the technology that was in that back then. So you know that they have the SR, I think it's a 72 now. They have all kinds of wild craft now. So that's why I say I believe some of what we're seeing instead of UFOs, I think that's ours, meaning somebody on this planet built it. And how do we know that they haven't been going back and forth to the moon and Mars to begin with? How do we know? Again, purely speculative, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Jerry Lahane, good to see you there. He said just a trivia bit. John Whitberg rather, Super Soldier on YouTube says Pluto is inhabited. And it would not surprise me because they had areas of the planet where it showed like bright spots and stuff like that where it looked like there was lights. Of course, it wasn't really lights. It was just the way I think they manipulated it. It looked like really bright area, but when you brought it down, it looked like there's rectangles and squares and different shapes in that area. So yeah, I'm not surprised. Okay, now I got you, Thomas. You said we have been there several times more than they documented. Sorry for the confusion. Oh, no problem. Because I was just wanting to make sure I was on the same page as you. That's all. Jerry Lahane, you said, think Germans and Japs spread out using time travel, alien tech to spread out to 10,000 colonies or planets Think trillions of humans, not millions or billions, but trillions. I mean, if we had, space travel that they're not telling us about, and I want to believe in a sense that we've definitely been to Mars, and we might have been originally from Mars. We've been back and forth. There's reason to believe that. And is it possible that, like I said, in our first cycle of life, we became very technological, and maybe we were going back and forth to Mars, and that's what we're seeing. What we had built thousands of years ago, we're now going back to it. Or it's something that was on this planet, was another civilization, and we're going there to see it. That's what it's all about. Moon, Mars, and any other planet they're visiting, they're saying, and I've always said this, again, from the very start. Again, we see something on the moon through telescopes. It's not natural. They can see it's a structure, and they get the most powerful telescope, and they're looking at it and say, oh my God, it's a structure. You're going to do everything you can to get there. Now, you get there, you do the Apollo missions. In the meantime, they're already going to Mars. This happened in like early 60s, and I think even the 50s at one, they made their attempts. So they're going there. They're going, at the moon. They see these things. Okay, questions come to mind, of course. Who built them? How long have they been there? What kind of inhabitants were they? Are they still here under this lunar surface? But now you have to say to yourself, wait a minute. If there's that much going on in our own satellite, our moon, around our Earth, who's to say other planets weren't that way too? Hence going to Mars and going out everywhere you could possibly go to. Build these things as fast as you can. Get to these planets. What's the closest ones to Earth? And there you go. So, you know that they're hiding this stuff, and there you go. And I think a lot of these bases have been there for years, and regular structures that might have been. If there's a civilization on Mars, then you know as well as I do, they lived like you and I do, because they said they had a lot of water, they had land, they had obviously, an atmosphere. They had all of it. Just like we do here. It's a sister planet to Earth. I've heard of them, Jerry. I'm going to check about them a little bit more and read about it. Eric, you said maybe they use those atomic explosion type rockets that they had abandoned. They would carry a lot of materials up to the moon and build bases. I mean, yeah, they would have to have done that back in the day, right? So let's suppose they went up to, it's only Apollo 17. We lost funds. We're just not interested anymore. No way. Not after what I've seen on the moon and the photos I've showed you, quite a few. So they were there for that reason. So then they're going to want to not keep going back and forth. So yes, building a base would be the smartest thing to do. Now, the thing is, you'd have to go, okay, how do they get food up to them? Well, they'd have to do it on the sneak. So again, SR-71, something that's invisible to the radar, it can take off coming and going, and nobody's going to be none the wiser unless they could track the actual thermal coming out of the engines, what's flying around, what's going near the moon. If they were looking strictly at the moon with like a thermal imaging camera type thing attached to a telescope, and they're looking at it and say, oh, wow, there's something flying over there, then they can tell. But once you get out of the atmosphere, you just simply shut the engines off and you coast to the moon. You don't need engines. It's like throwing a ball out in space. It's just going to keep going. There is no thrusters. You don't need them. There's no resistance. There's nothing like that to slow anything down. Only when you get to the moon or a planet that you have to slow your speed and turn around and get down and land down on the surface. So yeah, 100%. And they could have very well done that. Susie said there's just so much in this photo. Wow. Yeah, this one's crazy. And the moons, you said, Metalhead, you said, and the moons. Absolutely. Germans 10 to 20 years ago were getting kicked off Mars for genocide, Nazi behavior. I haven't heard that one before. But who knows, right? I love it when I talk for like 2 or 3 hours. My voice tends to get really crazy. Let me see. Do Flamingo, you said, have you ever seen the interviews with for the moon mission that happened a couple months ago? What are your thoughts on it? Oh, you're talking about the Artemis mission? Is that the one you're talking about? I'm going to assume that's it because that was the last mission. I think they had Artemis 1 and Artemis 2. The first one just flew around the moon, I believe, and the other one actually had the occupants, which they did not land, of course. Thomas Stone, you said, yes, Mars has an atmosphere. 100%. 786 Auto, hey, good to see you in there, man. It's been a while. So hello, just found you guys. I appreciate you getting in there. Although late, but you're still there. Good to see you. Oh, yeah. Flowers, I think it is. It's RDFOB, I think it is. Hi, Chris. Look at the right angles on the Jupiter photo. Upper left above your feed. Huge building in the front of the crater. I think you were talking about, was it Pluto, I think? Eric, football games on the moon would be cool to watch. Yeah, one kick. See ya. Jerry, you said John Whitberg says he lived on Mars and prefers Mars to Earth, gravity here being a drain to him. Well, it's, again, we're more tuned to Mars than we are here. And this is the reason why as you get older, you're compact and everything else. And you just being over there, the gravity wasn't as high, at least when it was normal, meaning the planet was thriving and everything else, that, again, they say our bodies are more in tuned. Do Flamingo, he said, what's going to be your streaming schedule going forward? I think I don't know. I'm going to let you guys decide too. We can do the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We can do, because that's when, I have more time in the evening to do this, but I might actually do one on Sunday. So in other words, we can do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then maybe Sunday in the afternoon. I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you guys also decide too. Because I know you, and it's tough. I know some of you guys are like in Europe, and it's tough for you guys. I get it, but we don't get home till like 4:30, 5 o'clock as far as from work. My wife and I, so it's like it makes it a little harder for us. But but I'm trying to get on as soon as I can, so this way here you guys can at least catch a little bit of it. But worst case scenario, you can always catch it the next day. And it works either way, right? Do Flamingo, you said, and yes, is the Artemis 2 missions where the people went, I'm not sure what you're getting at. I mean, yes, I believe that it's definitely happened. And you got to keep in mind, a lot of people say, well, there's no way like they lost the technology from the Apollo missions. No, they didn't. Here's an example. Any one of us on here right now, you built the Model A or the very first steam car, or the very first electric car, what would you need to plan for it after you've built something much more high-tech? What would you need? Why would you need it? Toss it out. It's junk now. You got to move on now. So they know how to do it. The idea is to implement the new materials and everything else to build it and then be able to do the same thing, but it's going to be better. It's going to be like more shielding against any kind of radiation. And of course, they're going to be able to get, through the Van Allen belts, better. I mean, it's just better technology, period. You can go from an old steam or an old electric car, or you can look at a Tesla, totally different. You definitely want to go, yeah. Well, it's kind of like even in your house. You go, hey, honey, it's time to upgrade the TV set. You go from a tube set to a high definition, 4K, ultra high definition, Dolby and all this other stuff. Are you going to keep the TV, or are you going to keep the old TV, or you're going to out the window? There you go. They don't really need to have that old technology. It doesn't make any sense, especially when you got new technology to take its place and build new. That's all. But people are like, oh, I don't understand. There's nothing to understand. They just didn't need they didn't need that junk anymore because it's basically outdated technology. Flamingo, you said, don't burn yourself out 1 or 2 days at most during the week. Yeah, it doesn't really burn me out. It's like, I don't mind talking. Even if we have like one of them, like on let's say we do it on a Tuesday, and I just say, you know what? I'll let you guys just ask questions, and we'll bat it back and forth. That works too. Doesn't necessarily have to be showing photos all the time either. We can talk about what you guys want to talk about. Eric, yeah, do Monday, Tuesday, Monday, and Sunday just to cover everything. Interesting. Oh, Todd Murphy said Cydonia. Yes, Cydonia. I believe the very first photos from the Viking orbiter was the actual real deal, and what they showed us after, that CGI piece of shit that they showed us before, or after rather, was that piece of crap. Do Flamingo, if you compare the Apollo mission with the landed on the moon versus these people that went around the moon, it's interesting that these people aren't sulking or looking depressed compared to Apollo. Well, again, I think, if you were to go, they're going to debrief you. And I think, again, a lot of the people today that are going to the moon and stuff like that, they're more desensitized to the technology. And so if they said, and they debriefed them and they said, by the way, when you go up there, you're going to see these structures. And I've done one video on the Artemis mission, and clearly the structure's there, 100%. So they go there and they see it and they go, oh, wow, they weren't lying. Look at these things. That's cool. You got to remember, back in the 60s, in early, late 60s, early 70s, when our men went there, then you're talking about like, what was modern here on Earth? Nothing. You know what I mean? So, well, back then it was, to them it was high tech. But you look at it now, the high tech we have now, they're like, so they say, okay, it's just structures and maybe some spacecraft. A spacecraft would blow my mind. But you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like back then it was like, oh my God. And you've seen the text that I've read to you that they were talking back and forth with Kennedy, the Space Center, when they were talking back and forth. Yeah, these things are huge and this, that. I mean, they were just like blown away. And they probably said, oh, by the way, don't talk about a thing. These guys are the first time they've ever seen anything like it. Now, these people probably debriefed and said, this is what they've seen in the Apollo missions, so you could expect to see the same. Oh, wow, that's interesting. They go, yeah, well, I'd come back happy as, like a pig in shit. I'd be like, oh my God, this was amazing. But obviously you can't talk about it. These guys were blown away by it and probably like shell shocked from it. So, yeah. Pashon, you said, I can remember Gary McKinnon talking of off-planet space fleet. I can see we have already been to Mars and maybe other planets. Yeah. And I think, I think the space fleet too, I think this was a spin-off or a continuation of the Star Wars project that they had. And it's basically warheads out in space in case any other country tried to do that to us. But it makes sense too. It's like, if I can just flip this weapon around, I can protect the planet with it. But then I think they said they went from those, then they went to like these high-powered lasers. So if that's true, then it's not just to keep other countries from attacking us so much as it is to, how about all the worldly things that may be coming our way? Helga's Vengus, show your strangest pictures on Mars. Well, I actually went through a ton of those. You can always go back to the video after and check it out once it's put up there. Because, like I said, we're about ready to end this anyway. Plethora of ancient ruins on Mars. Todd Murphy's. Oh, yeah. Like I said, this city. Like I said, here it is right here, right on my home screen. That's not natural. If they can put rovers on Mars, then they can put a man on these planets. Lightfoot said that. Yeah, I mean, well, again, the machines, obviously they don't need to breathe and worry about the cold and the heat and everything else. So, yeah, they really have to be careful about what they do, right? So, to me, it just makes sense that they got to make sure that they can get these people there alive. And keep in mind, back in the 70s, they probably wouldn't make it like they would make it with the new technology we have now, right? So, more technology, keep people alive better, maybe a little bit bigger craft so they can exercise more. like kind of like they do in the ISS because they're up there, they need to exercise. So yeah, it makes sense, right? So they would have to do the same, especially because I think it used to take like 9 months to a year or 12 months to get to Mars back then. Now it's like 6 months. You know what I mean? And of course, it's 2 year intervals. They got to wait until Mars comes into like an orbit where we can just kind of like meet it and then join with it. So it's like every 2 years interval. Let me see. Okay. Let's see. Flamingo, he said, whatever happened to the woman you were working with in Antarctic structures? Well, one of them, because there was two of them, one of them passed on because of cancer, and the other one, I believe, is going to college, and she just like, I guess they just told her, you got to cut ties with everybody. It's got to do with outside because this is what you need to work on, so on and so forth, and that's pretty much what happened. It'd be nice to hear from her again. That would be nice. I remember you made some videos on it a while back, but it's been a while since I've seen an update from you on it. Like I said, I've got Antarctica videos out there. Trying to remember what it was here. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me see. Oh, wrong one. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Okay, so it's called Antarctica and its Hidden Secrets. And there's like, let me see here. There's actually only about 6 videos on there, but she has, Sarah was her name that did all of the research. And basically her thesis is on that. And the one that's 3 hours and 18 minutes is basically like a scrolling book. You can see it here. And so you can see Antarctica, hundreds of alien structures found. This one here is Antarctica monolith and much more. High-tech structures found in Antarctica and the center. You can see the centering of Antarctica, Sarah's full thesis, basically. And this one here was like a shorter one, the centering of Antarctica, what's really there. And this was her first one. It's only 2 hours and 16. But if you don't want to read a book, but you want to do this and just kind of look at it, just scrolls real slow. You can actually speed it up if you want to. You can slow it down. It's got music on there. It's like, I think it's like a classical. Of course, it can be muted. Not a big deal. And you can sit there and literally watch and see her side of it. And it's really amazing, the stuff that's in there. Really, really cool. She's the one that had the soil tested up there because there's a group that was going up there and she knew them and had them tested it. And what they said was that there was industrialization about 125,000 years ago. Well, you go, well, wait a minute, what? And I've also done videos on that. And you can watch these. It's got like, you can see structures all over the land over there. Get rid of that real quick. Whoops. Let me do this. Switch account. Jump back over there. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, okay. And there we are. Let me see. I remember Hoagland had his book Monuments on Mars. Yeah, he had a lot of good research in there. What was the other gentleman's name? He's the one that was pioneer to all of this. Pashon, you said I used to follow Richard C. Hoagland. He had a lot of Mars information. Yeah, absolutely. And he was one who was trying to also get the government to come out with the truth. And so this has been ongoing for years. Flamingo, your question was also, what are your thoughts on in China and all of its rovers and stuff that they're doing? They're not sharing all of the data with our scientists. Well, yeah, I mean, again, when they sent up their, I forget what theirs was at the time. the name is eluding me right now, but what they did was they said when they sent up the first one, and they said that the solar panels are supposed to go down at night so it can, it can help keep itself warm. Well, they said one of them wouldn't go down, so therefore it froze and was no longer working. Well, there was actually ham operators on Earth knew the frequency, so I don't know if they got a friend of a friend that works for those space agencies, but they said, oh yeah, okay, so they tuned into the frequency, and guess what? The thing was pinging. So in other words, it was alive and well. So when I started analyzing the photos and I seen it was complete trash, but you can see things in these photos, they suddenly went, yeah, we sent up another one. And, oh no, that's what it was. He said, we got it running again. Because they must have said, oh crap, they know about us. They said, yeah, we got it running again, but we're just going to let it do its own scientific research, without showing the public. Basically is what they said. So, yeah, so what are they doing up there? Todd Murphy said, great channel, keep up the great work. We appreciate you. I appreciate you guys, man. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. So I appreciate you all. Lightfoot, you said the Antarctica videos were nuts and they were interesting. Oh, absolutely. A lot of good information in that. If you ever want to just read on it, I mean, I think what's going on too in Antarctica is that, more the ice is melting, the more they're trying to get all of that stuff out of there. Because there's like many ships. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of ships that go there for whatever reason, whether it's oil or whatever it is. But they're going there and they're probably going, this is all going to melt, and everybody's going to see it from a satellite somehow, some way. Let's go ahead and get rid of it. So they're probably taking it and bringing it somewhere else. If there were structures there, they're probably going, who cares? You know what I mean? As long as there's nothing in it of any value. And what I thought was interesting, it's like, well, what if, because obviously, like I said before in the last podcast, I said that area was actually like an Amazon jungle, and they know this. They literally done some core samples, and you can see like permafrost and frozen ice and all this other stuff. And then it got down to like greenery, then soil, so on and so forth. So they know that it was like a rainforest. It was plush. So they know there was some. So why wouldn't there be structures up there, even if they were ancient, like let's say like the Egyptians, even if it was similar to that, or it was something much more lived there, more high tech. And, of course, the Ice Age came along, Earth tilted, all kinds of good stuff, buried it all year after year after year, and just buried it. We don't know. That would be the case anyway. But so at that point, now that it's all starting to melt, what are they doing with it? Oh, shit, what do we do now? And that's what it comes down to. Deja vu overtime, or DJ, I'm sorry, my bad, overtime. What's going on? Good to see you in there. DJ Overtime, he said, I'm reading a Dark Mission, great book by Hoagland and Mike Barra. Hoagland, I'm cool with. Barra, he's a pain. He's full of hot air and very arrogant. I'm not a fan of him only because I've seen him he was on the History Channel, and he's basically reiterating what other people talked about. It was their research, and he's reiterating like it's his. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't think that's cool to do. Unless, of course, you give people props who actually found it first. And he just comes off as very arrogant. And there was other people that said the same thing about him. They just said they don't care for him. Let's see. Flores, you said 125,000 years ago. Wasn't the South Pole tropical? I could be wrong. Well, if you think about it, if the poles were where they at and they were shifted thousands of years ago in a different position, let's say they were more towards the equatorial region, well, then yeah, the South Pole would be pretty much similar. Dania, good to see you in there. He said, hi, Chris. Hope I'm not too late. You're on the backside of it. We were going to be jumping off this and pretty soon. But I'm glad to see you in there. And we're going to be doing more of these anyway. Briticus Third says Noah's Ark was a spaceship. I heard that before too. Not what they say it is, as far as biblically. They were saying like basically there was like all like beakers or whatever they had, and it was like all DNA from different animals. It was more something much smaller and of every creature on the planet. And it might have came from another planet and seeded everything here. We don't know. Pure speculative. Also, I love you, Chris. Been a follower and fan since 2017. I appreciate it. I really do. Metalhead, you said the Nephilim built the giant structures in Antarctica. That's what they're hiding. Giants were frozen. They're digging them up. And you know what? I don't doubt that at all. And I've heard that before. Because again, if you go back to X amount of thousands of years ago, they say we had more oxygen, more dense oxygen, it was warmer on this planet, so on and so forth. So things probably grew bigger back in the day. So does not surprise me. Now, if the Nephilim, if you go by the Nephilim where they talk about how they were very big people, and they were from outer space, meaning alien type thing, that's a possibility. You know, how like they made it with Earth's women, so on and so forth. So that's pretty wild in itself. I wouldn't want to be that woman, but regardless. But you know what I'm saying, you know, throwing a little something there, but that would be wild to see. And, you know, because they said there were supposed to be quite large structures there as well. Now, the ones I've seen would be something we would build, but that doesn't mean, because we're looking at them from a distance, so that doesn't mean that they were small or average size, right? Yep, Metalhead, yep. We had giant bones found in every continent, but you just got to be careful because some of those, you know, are bogus. You know, they're making this stuff up. They're just coming out with just, you know, just trying to make money off, oh, look, we found bones. And a lot of them were bogus, but some of them are not. And they are genuine. Well, I think we're going to have to tie this up. Just roll it up and get out of here. But I appreciate everybody being on here. This has been awesome. Heck, we've been on there for 3 hours now. That's insane. But it goes by so fast. So why don't we do this? The next one we do, and I'll let you folks know when we're going to do it, might be that same day, depends on when I can get the time in and we can do it. I know that the 3 days in the beginning of the week we can definitely do. So we'll go with that. And I'll let you folks know. And we may do something on the weekends, not sure. A lot of times the weekends come along, I'm like, that's the only time I got off because I only have like Thursdays and Sundays off. So, but that doesn't mean we can't use those days too, right? So, well, I'll let you know. I'll keep you guys abreast of what's going on. But thanks for everybody being here. Love you all. You guys are awesome. Good to have everybody in here. I'm hoping we can get this completely straightened out because listen, if you guys are ticked off, what do you think I am? Because I'm trying to convey and I'm being, you know, buffered to death. So we will try to get this squared away and find out what's going on. And like I said, I'm going to give them a call probably tomorrow and see if they can't straighten it out. You know, and like I said, I can still go through it and make sure it's running. It seems to be running fine for a while now. So it might have been just something that was on their end. Who knows? Because I haven't changed nothing. So it's got to be something that, you know, whatever's going on. But again, much love to everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad everybody got to sit there and say hello to each other as well. Lifewood, you said, thanks, Chris. Do Flamingo, you said, have a good night. Do Flamingo, you said, I don't care how many times you stream. I just want consistency from you in a stream once in a couple, like once in every 2 months. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get back into it because I enjoy doing this stuff, you know. I find photos, I find things that are interesting. And we even if we do the live feeds, we can always do like I did today, where you guys basically got like a video that I would normally make of an enhancement. You got to see that today too. So we can always throw those in. And I think, like I said, the next one, we'll just do all questions. And if you guys want to just go back and forth, bat it back and forth, we can do, because we can talk about anything. You guys want to talk about how many people are in here, audiophiles? How many people love cars? Well, it kind of goes without saying. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I enjoy that. Like I said, I like to call it like a low-end, you know, audiophile and mess around with all kinds of stuff. Love electronics. And like I said, back here, I got a whole listening post over here. I can pretty much listen to anything. So, I mean, there's just like a world of things we can get in and talk about. Just about anything you guys want to talk about. Even the women come up with something different. Or you just want to talk about like we normally talk about. Moon, Mars. I'm open to it. We can have different topics. Doesn't have to be just strictly that if you don't want to. So you guys can just let me know. Eric, you said thanks. Thanks for this. Metalhead, great show, Chris. Regards. Regardless. Yeah, regardless of that. Yeah. I appreciate it, dear Metalhead. Whatever works for you, Todd, you said. Pashon, you said, thank you, Chris. Enjoy the channel so much. Chris, love you. You're awesome. Well, I appreciate it. So yeah, we're gonna let everybody go. Again, when you leave, guys, give me a thumbs up. And if you want, just drop a comment saying, hey, this is great. This helps the algorithm of the channel. Believe it or not, when you guys put down, hey, great show. Hey, Chris, if you got other questions you forgot to ask, drop them down below as well. And like I said, just throw the thumbs up. Really appreciate it. It does help the channel, believe it or not. And it helps us get more recognized out there and then more apt to want to promote the channel. Because a lot of times you're just blacklisted kind of thing. We don't want to be like that. We want to just keep this going and get more information out. So I'm going to let everybody go. Thanks for being here. Much love to all of you. We'll see you soon. Peace.